morning and welcome to our 151st weekly webcast. Now, the way this weekly call works is I first discuss important and interesting business news topics from the past week and how you can use the news and other strategies to enhance your career or make you a much, much better investor. And then what I'll do is I'll spend the rest of the 3-hour call taking your questions. Now, I want to invite you all to a special web class that I'm hosting next week on Friday, September 10th. And what I'll be doing is during that class, I'll be giving a free lesson to help you be more successful in your career. And I'll also show you how to massively increase your net worth. And I'll show you how to register for that free session in a minute. Now, in that event, during that event on September 10th, you'll see that it's quite similar to how I teach my classes in the Haroun MBA degree program. So if you've ever wondered what it'd be like to be part of the Haroun MBA degree program, then please register and check it out. Because I humbly believe that access to the right education is invaluable. And it should be affordable too and accessible to everybody. I can't wait to see you there. It's going to be a lot of fun as well. All right. So in order to register for the event, what you do is you go to my website. So my website is harounventures.com. And then what you can do is you scroll here and just click on this link to register. Okay. And you sign up here. And then what happens is you'll get a reminder when it starts. Hi, that's me. All right. So if you're getting value out of this call, and only if you're getting value, then please like and subscribe. Now, let's move on to the news and general topics to help you take your career or investment portfolio to the next level. Now, what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to talk about 7 quick topics today, including the following. Why is Tesla selling a human-like robot? And what can we learn from Elon Musk when it comes to getting free marketing, right? He's brilliant, and he's using the robot to sell the car. It's a brilliant strategy. I'll tell you all about it. What we'll also do today is we'll discuss the $9 billion Theranos scandal. And it's in court right now here in San Jose. Elizabeth Holmes, the founder, they're going through jury selection now. But I want to talk about it briefly because I want to help you avoid getting scammed before you invest in private or public companies. Okay, I care. And what I'll also do during these 7 topics is I'm going to tell you how to profit immensely by investing in stocks that just don't go down on bad news. Okay, and this is all based on my work experience in the hedge funds. All right, so without further ado, let's do this. Let's begin, and thank you. Why did Elon Musk announce that Tesla is making a human-like prototype robot that's going to be out in 2022? Why did he do this? I mean, it's a conundrum because Elon's actually mentioned many times that he's absolutely terrified of the future where artificial intelligence-based robots can threaten humanity. Now, Musk is being very careful with how he actually markets the robot, as his code name for the robot is actually Optimus, which is a clever name because Optimus sounds like the word optimist. And Optimus Prime, of course, transformed from a truck into a good robot in the comic books. And I actually, I'm a nerd as well, and I collected Transformers and all comics when I was younger as well. Cash is trash. These things are worth more. I bought this back in the 80s. All right. Now, part of Elon's brilliance is his incredibly positive attitude and perhaps his fear of a Terminator Rise of the Machines bleak future. Maybe that is leading him to kind of, front run or get ahead of the other companies from making human-sized robots before he does, right? So maybe he's trying to build them first so he can influence the industry to not let machines get too much power. Now, aside from Elon being very positive, there's actually 2 business lessons that we can learn from Elon Musk when talking about his robot strategy. Now, the first thing we can learn from him is that controversy is the best free advertising campaign ever. And the second thing we can learn from him, from this robot initiative, is just like Elon Musk, we have to set up a BHAG, B-H-A-G, which stands for setting up a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's a real term. Okay, so let's kick it off with controversy, which, if done tastefully, is actually the best free marketing or free advertising you can get, as the media has a field day with it. Okay, and what you can do is, if you have a controversial business model, you can network aggressively to meet with journalists by leveraging LinkedIn and by using the networking concepts I teach in my MBA program. So Elon Musk actually explained that Optimus is based on the same chips and the same software and the same artificial intelligence-based platform that are part of Tesla's. So he's, in essence, actually promoting Tesla's cars at the exact same time. And controversial free marketing is exactly what Mark Benioff did with Salesforce when he launched the company in 1999 with a no software logo. Now, Mark Benioff, he's the founder of Salesforce, which is now the largest employer in San Francisco. And so he had a no software logo for the first decade or so of his company. And nobody really got it at first. And it was very controversial back then. And Mark Benioff, what he did was he was on so many panels and so many television programs discussing why software is dead. Of course, the answer is the cloud, which we all get now. I didn't in hindsight, I get it now. Now, Richard Branson did the exact same thing back in the 1980s when he launched his product called Virgin Cola. And what he did was he drove a tank into Times Square in the 80s, okay, and he declared the war on Coca-Cola. And if you look closely at the bottom there, right here, you can see a little Virgin Cola cans as well. It was brilliant. So Elon Musk is brilliant when it comes to being controversial as well. Now, moving on to the second business lesson from Elon Musk, which is setting up a BHAG, B-H-A-G, which stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. And BHAG is actually a term that lots of venture capitalists here in the Bay Area use. Now, from a BHAG perspective, in the past, Elon Musk has talked a lot about colonizing Mars. But with the Optimus robot, he actually set up a BHAG and a deadline date for the robot being available for prototyping by 2022. And that's crucial to set a deadline date, because setting a deadline date is the reason why most people don't achieve their goals. You know, the reason most people give up on their New Year's resolutions is because, number one, they don't set a deadline date, and number two, they don't tell everybody about their goal. And in business, and when it comes to personal growth, it's crucial to set deadline dates and tell everybody about the goal, so it actually puts pressure on us. And I say it with love in my heart. It puts pressure on us to actually achieve our goals. And when it comes to setting goals at Amazon, for many, many years, Jeff Bezos has had all of his product managers, from Prime to Kindle to AWS, etc. He's had all of them write a press release today that's going to be released at least 1 year from today. And that way there is a gap between the product, where the product stands today, and what it will look like in the future. And the goal of Amazon is for product managers to fill that gap, of course. Now, what if you fail with your big goal? It's okay, because in business and in life in general, you know, we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year, but we massively, massively underestimate what we can achieve in a decade. It's amazing how it works. And as James Cameron, the great director, Canadian, as James Cameron once said, you need to set a goal that is so high that if you fail above everyone else's expectations. And in closing, when thinking about setting your big goal, please remember that Mark Twain once said, this is going to be tricky for me to try to do this here. Mark Twain once said, it's a big goal here. All right. Mark Twain once said, the two most important days, hey there, the two most important days in your life are number one, when you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. So when you find your why, what I want you to do, please, is I want you to tell everyone about your big goal and also set up a deadline date. Now, if this was helpful, please like and subscribe, and thank you. All right. And give me a second to get a glass of water, a big glass of water here. I try to finish this every day. It gives me more energy. And then we'll talk about Elizabeth Holmes and what's happening with the scandal with Theranos. All right. Okay. The founder of Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes, is on trial here in San Jose for actually defrauding investors. And her company, Theranos, was once worth $9 billion. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about three things related to business lessons from this. The first one is, why did she do this? And the importance of us using game theory, to kind of understand what the reason is that people in business act irrationally. Number two, what I'll talk about is how to decrease the chances of you getting defrauded with investments. And the third thing I'll talk about with respect to Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos is I'll quickly teach you how to tell if someone is lying, based on lessons I learned in the hedge fund industry in person from 25-year FBI and CIA veterans. All right, let's kick it off with why. We always need to understand that most entrepreneurs are really, really positive people. And that's cool. That's cool. And it's one of the reasons why they're successful. And when I used to work in the venture capital industry, when founders told us their expectations of revenue growth in the early years, we would always discount that by at least 50%. And CEOs on television are also extremely positive about their company, of course. And that's how they made CEO. And if this is a funny picture, it's the only one I could find in Adobe stock images. Yes. But if CEOs are very positive, then investors and customers love it, and their employees' morale increases a lot, okay? And successful founders and CEOs are similar in that they're very positive and they're amazing salespeople, okay? And what I'm about to say is not implying that what Elizabeth Holmes did was right. It certainly was not. But I want to talk about why she did it, okay? So what she did was she idolized Thomas Edison, who's the inventor, of course, of the light bulb. And what she did was she actually named the Theranos product the Edison. That's what it looks like there in the corner. And investor fraud has occurred for many, many years. This is nothing new. Now, Thomas Edison was not ethical, as he actually lied to many investors over the years, about the effectiveness of his products. And he actually screwed over Nikolai Tesla as well. But he lied about the effectiveness of his products, which actually allowed him, it worked, but it was wrong. It allowed him to raise money. And then after he raised the money, then he used the proceeds to actually make the product. And he even defrauded J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan hated to have his picture taken there, all the time. He even defrauded J.P. Morgan when J.P. Morgan invested in his company. And his company at the time was called the Edison Electric Light Company. And J.P. Morgan fired him because he was unethical. He fired Thomas Edison. And he renamed the company General Electric. So yes, there's a very long history of founders that have lied to raise money. Now, Elizabeth Holmes lied that the product worked because her business idol, crooked Thomas Edison, did that for years. And the problem is not only did she defraud investors, even worse, she defrauded patients. And I'm not saying that all CEOs are liars at all, but when CEOs make a positive qualitative statement, please always do your own research on the company and understand that these people can sell, okay, CEOs. In fact, when you're doing research on a company, investment research, please never meet with a CEO or founder until after you've done a lot of investment research on the company, including building a financial model and much, much more. And I teach this stuff in my MBA program. And if you go to my website, harouneducation.com, before September 10th, you can sign up for my free web class where what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a massive 100-step framework in Microsoft Excel and other formats that will help you do research on companies. Okay, let's move on now to the second topic, which is how can we decrease the chances of us losing money due to fraud or due to investing in a company with really poor fundamentals. Now, the first thing we can always do is we can read the investment offering memorandum, okay, and it exists for all products, or it should. You know, with Facebook, for example, this here was their S1 investment offering memorandum IPO document back in 2012. So for private companies, I always want you to ask for the investment offering memorandum that the company's lawyers made for you, okay, before investing. And if they don't have one, please don't think about investing. And if they do have one, and if it's a big investment for you, what I want you to do, please, is I want you to call a lawyer, or I want you to go to LegalZoom.com or the equivalent of LegalZoom.com in your country and have a lawyer read the investment offering for you. Now, quick bonus points if anybody can tell me what show this is from. And I personally always hired lawyers to read my employment contracts, you know, when I worked for other people in the past. And that saved my family and I big time. Yes, it sucks to pay the legal fees, but I promise you it's worth it. Also, get your accountant to quickly review the investment document if you want to put that investment into your tax savings or retirement savings account. Because sometimes after you invest, you can't move it into a retirement account. And your accountant might also convince you not to invest in the company anyway. Now, as a very quick side note, if a friend asks you to invest in their company, I want you to ask yourself, why am I so lucky to be given this investment opportunity? And it might be because nobody else will invest. And I say that with love in my heart, because if you invest, it can destroy your friendship. As people change a lot, you'll see when it comes to money. Now, in my MBA program, I have many templates and tools and arrows in your quiver for you to use to do deep due diligence on any type of company, whether it's a private company or a public company. Okay, let's quickly chat about how to tell if a CEO is lying. It's actually pretty simple. It's when they move their lips. I'm so sorry. That was awful dad humor. No more today, I promise. There's actually 4 ways to tell if someone is lying. And when I worked in the hedge fund industry, this helped me a lot with my short positions. And at one massive hedge fund I worked at, management hired ex-CIA and ex-FBI employees to train us to look for signs that the person that we're meeting with are lying. And this saved me a lot of money. Okay. And at least one of the following 4 criteria I'm about to chat about, at least one of the following 4 criteria must be correct in order for us to potentially assume someone might be lying. Okay. Number 1, the CEO rambles when answering a simple question. So long, boring answers. Number 2, when the CEO touches their face more often when answering a question as well. And also, if the CEO breaks eye contact with you when answering the question, okay, unless it's their demeanor. And to be intellectually honest, I look down a lot. It's just the way I am. Oh my God, I'm rambling. Maybe I'm lying about that. I don't know. But I got this picture of Mr. Bean here from the Olympics in England. It was amazing. He did the opening ceremony. He was pretending he was playing the piano. It was hysterical. Okay. Lastly, number 4, if the CEO shakes their foot a bit, unless they've had too much coffee, but if they shake their foot a bit, then the shaking is something that can maybe indicate that they're nervous or they're lying. And this is something that lie detector tests can detect as well. Thanks. All right, give me 1 second to get a little bit of coffee here. This is my favorite TikToker. He's from Italy, I think. Yeah, he's hysterical. Yeah. All right, next topic. This year, more than 40% of people born after 1996 have used TikTok for advice on which stocks to invest in. It's amazing, more than 40%. And this is one of the many reasons why hedge funds and mutual funds cannot outperform ETX index funds, or many retail investors outperform them. Okay, and I'll explain why in a minute, why this is happening. Now, the younger generation was born digital, and they certainly don't consume the same media formats that old people like me do. And this is actually a material concern for large media companies like CNN and even Wall Street firms like Goldman Sachs. And to make matters worse for large media companies and Wall Street firms, this awesome younger generation is used to consuming media, video games, and stock trading for no fees at all. And I think that a lot of mutual funds and hedge funds are in secular decline, as they won't be able to justify their higher rates that generate lower returns. And even Charles Schwab has noticed a massive increase in the past year of younger people opening up online trading accounts. It's actually their biggest growth market. And I love this because finally, fees on investment vehicles are coming down as competition is good for the consumer. Now, I think what's coming next in fintech is payment processors and credit card companies are finally going to receive a ton of competition from online payment companies. And the finance fees for credit cards and horrible investment advice from Wall Street is actually going to cause many of those firms to change their business models or close. Now, should you take investment advice only from TikTok or only from Reddit? Absolutely not. Never take anyone's advice when it comes to stocks or investing, even me. Don't take it from me. Because what happens is if you rely on other people or the media or me to tell you what to buy, then if the market pulls back, we will end up selling the stock at the worst time. And Warren Buffett once said the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. Now, in my courses and MBA program, I provide you with many tools and templates so you can easily do your own research on companies that get you really, really excited. And that way you won't just be a tourist in stocks or a renter. You'll outperform if you do your own research. And I'm very confident that if you do, you can run circles around the Wall Street analysts and mutual funds and outperform them as well. So please go to my website, which is harouneducation.com, and try my investing course or my MBA program, where I provide you with many tools and templates so you can pick your own stocks instead of relying on the media. And there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee on all of my courses and my MBA program. Thanks. One of the best times to buy your favorite stocks is when they don't go down on bad news. Now, why does this happen? Why do some stocks not go down on bad news, like when they miss earnings or when they announce a product delay? Why does that happen? It's because sentiment is so negative on the stock that all the short-term investors that wanted to sell a stock have sold it, or, and I saw this when I'm about to tell you a lot in the hedge fund industry, if a stock goes up on bad news, it's actually because too many hedge funds are short it and they freak out that the stock is not going down on bad news. So what they do is they buy the stock quickly in order to cover their short position. Because with a short, your losses can be infinite if the stock goes up a lot. Now, if you want to short stocks, I recommend buying puts instead, which is what I'll be teaching in my upcoming complete options course, which I hope you enjoy. So how do you know when stocks have way too many short positions in them? Well, I'll show you. The metric we're going to look at is called the short ratio. And let me explain this to you using Yahoo Finance. Okay. And never pay for any investment advice, please, when it comes to finance websites. Okay. I'm going to go over here. Here we go. Okay, good. So we'll go here together to finance.yahoo.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a stock that I don't know that much about, but I thought it'd be interesting to chat about, called GoGo. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the short interest ratio, and I'll show you how to calculate that as well. So what we do is we go down here to statistics, and then we scroll down to the short interest right here. Okay, the share shorts. Okay, so what we do is we take the number of share shorts and we divide it by the average volume, which I'll show you in a second. So 14.6 million shares short in this stock. And I'm going to look to see what the average daily trading volume is. Alexa, what is 14.6 divided by 1.3?
14.6 divided by 1.3 is approximately 11.2308.
Okay, great. Now, that's 11.23 days to cover. And I'll explain the math behind this in a second and why this can save you a lot of money as well. Trying to buy time to get back to my slides here. Here we go. Good. Okay, so what we just did there was we took the number of shares that are shorted for the stock, and then we divided it by the average number of shares that trade per day. And what that does, it tells us how many days of volume on the stock would it take to have all the shorts give up and get out of the short position. And the metric I usually use is over 10. If it's over 10 days to cover, then I usually don't make it a very big short position unless my conviction level is very, very high. And when it comes to hedge funds, they all follow each other as part of the hedge fund mafia. And many of them, what they do is they put on the same short positions. And then they all freak out at the same time and they cover their shorts that don't go down on bad news. And the inverse of this is true as well. Meaning, if you own a stock and it just won't go up on good news, then it could be a crowded long position. And so in conclusion, with Reddit investors, their favorite strategy recently has been to look at what stocks hedge funds are short in size. And then many Reddit investors get together and they buy a lot of shares in that stock, which pushes the share price up, of course. And this makes hedge funds freak out because they have to cover their position because their shorts are actually going up on no news at all. The Chinese government announced that if you're under 18 years old, then you cannot play video games during the week. Or on weekends, you can only play for like an hour a day. And that's cruel. And I'll tell you why this is not fair. And it breaks my heart to see that the second largest economy in the world, soon to be the largest economy in the world, is quickly moving farther to the left, becoming more communist. And I have two teenage boys under 18. And they've been stuck at home given COVID for a long, long time. And imagine if I told my kids, hey, I know you're stuck at home given COVID and you can't go to your friends' houses much anymore. And I know the only way you socialize with your friends is by playing video games online. But just to make your life even worse, you're not allowed to play online games during the week and on weekends only for 1 hour per day. You can only socialize for 1 hour per day on weekends, but not during the week. That would be cruel, right? Even worse is if the government tried to impose that and limit our children's freedom. And it's at such a crucial point in their development lives. Now, when I worked in the hedge fund industry, I met with the CEOs of many online gaming companies in Shanghai in early 2006 because I was so excited about online gaming as an investor. And World of Warcraft was massive in China back then. And what I did was I asked the CEOs of these gaming companies in Shanghai, I asked them, from a consumer behavior perspective, why is online PC gaming massive in China, but not America, back then, 2006? And they told me at the time that at that point, many families in China had one child each under the one child per family law at the time. And that after dinner in America, or other parts of the world where there wasn't that one child per family limit, what you do is you play with your brothers and sisters after dinner. That's what I did. But in China, the only way you can socialize in the home is through online gaming. And to add insult to injury, with COVID, you're taking away socializing, through video games. It's not fair. And I think that not letting kids play Minecraft or Roblox which are great software development kits for future entrepreneur kids. It's kind of like saying, during the week, you're not allowed to go and play in the sandbox in your backyard and build stuff at a crucial time for social development for those under 18. Now, I'm a little bit more animated than usual today because I care about the freedom of my students all over the world. And many of my students, and I'll never say which ones, many of my students have been complaining to me over the past 18 months that in their countries, including my beloved Canada, where I'm proudly from, in many countries, people are losing their freedoms. And yes, I get it. It's because of COVID. And yes, I wear a mask as well. But we better be damn sure that after COVID is done, that we get these fucking freedoms back. Because for the first time in my 50-year life, China and many other companies are becoming more socialist. We're moving too far to the left. And we have to speak up and voice our concerns. And I have many students actually that told me that when they go outside and it's close to curfew, police officers beat them with sticks in many countries. Now, I believe in freedom of the individual. I believe that my students can accomplish anything with no limits. The role of government, should be to ensure order and with freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom to just be you. Now, that's what a lot of successful entrepreneurs think, that they can just be themselves and they can live their life in their own terms, and so it really bothers me that sometimes in capitalist countries, yes, your companies are deemed too big to fail. But in China, capitalists like Jack Ma and Baidu are now deemed too big to succeed. Now, I have many friends that are Democrats and many that are Republican. And we all agree that we have the right to freedom of speech. And perhaps I'm maybe a little bit more of a libertarian. But there's nothing worse in life than giving up even 1 inch of your freedom. Because many governments, once they get power, they don't want to give it back. And we all have to stand our ground and let our politicians all over the world know that, hey, once COVID is done, we're not giving you any reason to take any of our freedoms away. And I know that there's so many different opinions here in America where I live. And yes, some of the opinions are too extreme. But at least you have the right, to voice your opinion. And my favorite license plates is this one right here from the great state of New Hampshire. Yes, it's a bit extreme, live free or die, but I love it. And the mooses in Canada are better, eh? Okay. So in summary, in all seriousness, I know this is a little bit of a different side to me that I've shown. But I say all of this because I care. And the antithesis of entrepreneurship is a command economy where you don't have the freedom to be and be you. So please call your local members of parliament, your congresspeople, and other government representatives and voice your concerns if you find that post-COVID, your freedoms are at risk. And this is all the stuff I just mentioned is all based on me doing many one-on-one meetings with many of my students from all over the world. Okay. And this is why I'm a huge fan of freedom fighter Elon Musk and his Starlink satellite strategy, which basically will enable unfiltered internet access globally, which can materially weaken the filth of communism. Thank you. Mental health is a serious issue hurting many people. And Nike is making a bold statement on this by actually making all of their employees not come to work for a week. And management of Nike is actually telling, this is awesome, management of Nike is actually telling their employees, do not work during this time off, unwind, and spend time with your loved ones. And I salute Nike for doing this. And I strongly recommend taking off at least 1 day a year from work when you're physically okay, but you're mentally drained. Because going to work when you're incredibly stressed out or you didn't get a good night's sleep can do material harm to your career if you show up to work that day. And I'm an easy guy to get along with. But if I don't get enough sleep, or any sleep I should say, or if I'm mentally drained, I just can't work and it hurts your career. And there's nothing shameful actually about taking a mental health day off every now and then. Just tell your boss you're not feeling well. And if anybody watching this right now works at a big bureaucratic company and you feel temporarily claustrophobic and you just need to know what it feels like to be an entrepreneur and you need to take a mental break, then this is what I think you should consider doing, and this is what I did years ago. So I worked at Accenture for 4 years as a consultant back in the 1990s. And they worked us hard, 100 hours a week at times. And I worked hard and I played hard too. But I was number one, mentally drained. And number two, I wanted to be an entrepreneur and get a taste of entrepreneurship. So what I did was this. I took a 6-week leave of absence, back in the 90s when I worked at Accenture. And I started an internet charity called CICC.com, which at the time stood for Canadian Internet Charity Consulting. Now, of course, the largest bank in China owns that web address now. I should have renewed it. But this actually de-stressed me because, first of all, I got to get my taste of entrepreneurship. And I didn't care if my coworkers found out because, it's a charity. And second of all, it helped me to kind of find myself a bit more. And if people at your company find out that you're starting a charity when you take your time off or on the side, they're going to like you even more. And it helped me understand myself better by serving others and helping others for free, of course. Now, I want to show you how to do research on what companies' websites used to look like. And this is crucial when you're thinking of starting a company or you're doing research on what your competition's website used to look like to see how they got started. So what we're going to do is we're going to go together and check out the Internet Archive website. Okay, this will be fun. Give me a second to get this set up. All right, here we go, cool. All right, so what you do is you search for Internet Archive, and this should be part of your investment research approach. Internet Archive, here we go. All right, and then what I'll do is you click here to see what websites used to look like, or just type it here actually. So I'll type in mine, CICC.com. Google's always a better search engine than the websites themselves, right? Okay. Here we go. All right, CICC.com. Now, what I did, hold on a second, let me click here. It's fun doing these live demos. I'll type it again, CICC.com. And there is a point to all of this. You can search for, okay, here we go, great, okay, great. So what I did was I set this up back in the 90s. And you can do this for any website. You can look to see what the website used to look like back then. So right here, 1998, I guess I took a snapshot on the 11th of November. If we go there, I'll show you what my website looked like. It's so old school. It's so old school. I use JavaScript. Ooh, look at this little pop-up. And then what I did was I created my charity. And then I actually gave away website development for free to all these clients. And this was great for me because it gave me a great taste, and you can do this too, of entrepreneurship as I created free websites for all these countries. So, and let's actually do, while we're here, I'll make this quick, I promise you. Let's look at see what Apple's website looked like years ago. Okay, so let's go here to Apple. And again, do this on your competition to find out what their websites used to look like. So when you start your company, you know how they started, how many products they had. So if we go here back to 1998 for Apple on their website, you could see what products they marketed at the time. Remember this? They licensed that song, She's Like a Rainbow, from the Rolling Stones for the color IMAX. Yeah, so anyway, I think that, and let me get back on track here. Let me go back to my slides. Okay, here we go, good. So I think that, yes, Nike is setting a wonderful example for all of us to put our mental health first and not just our physical health. And I really humbly think that if you have that entrepreneurial itch inside of you, that's screaming to get out, and you work at a big company and you want to get a short leave of absence to start a charity and find yourself, then it's a win-win for you. It's a win-win for you, your company, and most importantly, the people that you're going to be helping with your charity. All right, give me 1 second, get a little bit of coffee, and I'll wrap up my stories, and I'll take all your mini questions there. Thank you. All right. Can you believe that Warren Buffett is 91? And so is Clint Eastwood, and they're still doing what they love to do at work. Now, I have students that contact me all the time that think that they're too old to reinvent themselves and change careers or even get a job. And I think any company that doesn't want to hire you or your parents because of age is illogical and unethical, and you do have rights, okay? And I'll show you how to take action for yourself or your older loved ones in a minute because I care. But first, let me talk about age and starting a company. The average age of somebody starting a company in the United States is now over 50. And the average global life expectancy is now 26 years longer today than it was in the 1950s. Think about that. That means you're actually 26 years younger than you think you are. So although I'm 50, I'm actually 24. And if you're 70, no, you're not. You're actually a very young 44. And it's never too late to reinvent yourself by taking online courses and by networking a lot, which I teach in my MBA program. But let's talk about your rights, okay? So what I want to do is I want you to go with me to Google, and I want you to search for age discrimination in your country name. So of course, I'll do it here in the United States. Give me 1 second here. All right, hold on a second. Sorry, guys. Okay, cool. All right, so, and I searched this earlier, but I'll show you again. Age discrimination. And it knows my IP address. It's fine. And your country name. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down here to the government website, .gov, okay, in the United States at least, okay. And I'll go here to age discrimination. And it actually says right here, the Age Discrimination Employment Act basically stipulates that nobody can discriminate against you job-wise if you're 40 years old or older, okay? And let's scroll down a little bit here to age discrimination and harassment. Okay, here we go. Age discrimination and harassment, where it says here, it's unlawful to harass a person because of his or her age. And I want you to reinvent yourself at any age. And I believe in my students so much. And I believe there's no limits that what we can achieve together. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but if you think you are being or have been discriminated against because of your age, the law protects you in many countries. And I suggest you go to LegalZoom.com and talk to a lawyer. And it's very cheap. I'm not sponsored, of course, by them or anybody. It's very cheap to talk to any type of lawyer on LegalZoom focused on any area of law. And before we quickly go there together, if anybody out there has kids and you haven't made a will, or you want to make a trust, or if you want to start a company and register your company so people can't sue you personally or steal your IP, intellectual property, you should also check out LegalZoom.com or search for the equivalent of LegalZoom in your country. Okay, let's go there together. So I'll go here to LegalZoom. Okay, great. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to search here for age discrimination. Again, if you don't have LegalZoom in your country, search for what is the LegalZoom equivalent in your country name. So let's search here for age discrimination. Okay. All right. And then what we'll do is we'll click here about the facts of age discrimination. Okay. And let me search for examples of what age discrimination includes. Okay. So age discrimination includes making offensive remarks about an employee's age, like, oh, Jim won't understand. He's too old to know the latest technology. That's against the law. And you have rights, okay? Or you or your parents or anybody over 40 that's been unfairly treated. All right, so next step is what you do is you scroll to the top and you call this number right here, okay? And you ask them to if you could talk to a lawyer that focuses on age discrimination. Okay, and again, if you can't find it here, then what you can do at LegalZoom, what you can do is search for LegalZoom competition. Okay, you do have rights. You do have rights. All right, let me get back on track here. Give me a second. All right. So in Hollywood, there's actually a saying that the only way to avoid age discrimination is to die young. But I like this next quote much, much better, which is from 3-time Academy Award-winning actress Frances McDermott, who said, "I think that ageism is a cultural illness. It's not a personal illness." And now you know. Now you know what to do. For you or your loved ones, if you feel like you're being discriminated against because of age. And you do have rights. So please do a search on LegalZoom or the equivalent of LegalZoom in your country. And then find out if you can talk to age discrimination lawyers. And LegalZoom is really, really cheap as well to use. I use it all the time. All right. It is time for questions. Yay, fun. Great. Okay, cool. So you all know the way it works is you type your questions there in the YouTube chat. And then what I do is I answer the questions in the order in which I receive them. Now, one other thing I have to say is that sometimes people will type in internet links and I don't see them because YouTube strips them out for whatever reason. Yeah. All right, let's do this. This will be fun. All right, so the first question I've got here is from Sanyam. And Sanyam wrote, "Chris, how are you doing? Thanks for doing it this week again. My pleasure. I'm going to be doing this every week. I don't care how old I get. The older I get, the better I was, though." Yeah. All right, just kidding. And next up, Sanyam said, "I had mentioned about avoiding drinking water while you're standing. I remember you said that a couple months ago. However, I'm unable to share any link over here. So sharing the reason below as read on the internet. Please take a doctor's opinion while and the reason, thank you, I love my students for caring. The reason why Sanyam is saying this is because I found that, so I got complaints on my YouTube channel, right? I'm always very transparent. I got complaints that I sounded tired. So what I did was I said, you know what, man, I'm getting rid of my chair. And I've not had a chair in my office since January, and I'll never have a chair again. And I get 20,000 steps every day on my treadmill here, which is under my levitating desk. But Sanyam is saying, while standing, the fluid passes through you without any filtration to your lower stomach, all due to high pressure. It causes water impurities to settle in the bladder that can result in massive damage to your kidneys. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll ask I'll definitely ask my doctor about that. Thank you. And my doctor is, I use onemedical.com. It's a great service. Check it out. Yeah. You set up appointments immediately. You do them over Zoom and all that stuff. It's a Kleiner Perkins back company. Thank you. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. Next up, Shock Rollo is saying, "Hey, Chris, hey, man. You can't always be happy with everybody. You know, sometimes you must scold and yell at them. You know, for example, you wrote here, for example, your employees messed up big time by repeating the same mistake you clearly mentioned never happen again. But you can't fire him," you wrote here. "So how can you reprimand him without being a jerk and gain respect instead? And how do you deal with these types of situations with anybody like kids, friends, etc.?" Yeah. So I think the most successful managers, what they do is they praise in public and they only criticize in private, because there's nothing worse than getting criticized by your manager in front of your peers. It destroys productivity, destroys morale, makes you want to leave the firm, etc. So I think what you do is you criticize in private, but I don't believe in yelling at all. Okay, but what I do is when I have to provide constructive feedback to my employees, I do it one-on-one, and quite often I start off with something nice. You know, like you're doing a great job on the Johnson campaign, whatever it is. But I'd like you to actually, so you can get promoted and whatnot, add even more value to the team. I'd like you to making this up. I'd like you to spend a little bit more time, on partnering with Joseph on the Michigan account. that sort of thing. So that's, and it's the same thing when you let somebody go, and I've been trained on how to do this, unfortunately. When you let somebody go, you always start off by saying something sincerely positive, and then you say, however, we're letting you go because of these reasons. Yeah. And if you're finding that your employees are not being as productive as you want them to be, given COVID, everyone's working at home, it's tough to monitor them, then you can do what I do, which is I have all my employees, send me an email every Friday, telling me what they accomplished during the week, what they're going to accomplish next week, and any questions they have. And if it's a brand new employee that has no work experience at all, although I don't believe in micromanaging, what I do is this sometimes. If it's a brand new employee, I have them email me every day with 3 things in that email. Number 1, what did you accomplish today? Number 2, what are you going to accomplish tomorrow? And number 3, do you have any questions or concerns? Okay. And I teach much more about how to manage people in my MBA program as well. Thank you for the question. Yeah. All right. And Zoralina wrote, hey, Chris, I love the topics this week. And then you wrote here that I heard that Tesla, oops, it jumped on me. Hold on a second, guys. Yeah. A lot of questions just came up. I heard that Tesla is going to join the NASDAQ in December. In your view, what is likely to happen to the stock? Yeah, it'll definitely have a pop, but not as much of a pop as it did when it got added to the S&P 500. And so the way it works is Standard & Poor's, which manages the S&P 500, which is 500 stocks that make up the U.S. economy. What they do is they decide every now and then to get rid of one company because it doesn't represent the economy anymore, and they put another company in. And so that's what happened with Tesla. I think it was last year they were added to the S&P 500. And so a lot of people invest in ETF funds, exchange traded funds, and they invest in the SPY, which is an ETF for the S&P 500. And so when Tesla was added, these ETF companies had to rebalance and add Tesla to it, which caused Tesla to go up a lot. It's always a great positive catalyst. Now, when it comes to the NASDAQ, there's not as many people that own NASDAQ ETFs as there are that own S&P ETFs. So yes, the benefit will be positive for Tesla when it gets added this December to the NASDAQ, but not as positive, I don't think at least, as when it was added to the S&P 500. Okay. All right. And then next question is, what's your view on the stock market and the fourth likely COVID wave? Yeah. So I think that governments, what they're going to do is for the foreseeable future, they're going to keep rates very, very low until they're very confident that COVID is no longer an issue, right? And so governments, what they can do is they can prop up the economy through stimulus programs, cutting rates, or other measures, okay? Now, stimulus programs, they can't make that many more of them because countries will go bankrupt. And when it comes to monetary policy and interest rates, they can't cut interest rates anymore because, rates are zero. And so what all governments are doing, or most, is they're saying, all right, we're going to leave rates very low for quite a while. And when things improve with respect to COVID, then we'll start to slowly increase rates after that. Now, what's happening is there's a lot of inflation globally. Okay, and that's not a terrible thing initially, because you got the choice of a little bit of inflation or COVID destroying the economy. But if you make rates zero and there's a bit of inflation, that's okay, because what happens is people are forced to spend money and start companies and consume instead of leaving money in the bank where rates are zero. And people also feel much richer if the market goes up a lot, which it has. And that's like the invisible hand when it comes to helping the marketplace and helping everybody feel richer. Everybody wins, yeah. But yes, there is serious inflation that they will be dealing with eventually, yeah. In terms of more waves of COVID, I monitor the data very, very closely. And it's actually terrifying. I don't rely on the media to tell me, how bad COVID is. And I will say the media actually has not been as vocal recently about how awful COVID is. But I'll show you exactly how I monitor it, and what I'm going to show you is a little bit frightening. Okay, so I actually go to, and I sent this to a buddy of mine. I go to Google Cloud, and I analyze all the data. And I sent it to my buddy Zaid a while ago here when we were out to dinner. All right, COVID stats. Here we go. All right, cool. All right, so this here is based on Google data, which is great. Google's awesome. They give away all this stuff for free. And what we can see here are two different charts. Okay, so the chart on the left here is number of daily new COVID cases. And this is for Florida, but you can select any region. And so Florida had a little bump up here, back last year when people were first finding out about COVID. It ramped up in the summer, ramped up near year end like it did for most parts of the world. And then earlier this year, it was awesome. The rate of change, that's what we look at, was negative. Okay, but now the rate of change is positive, and it's slowing a little bit right now, good. But right now in Florida, the daily new cases, for example, are at an all-time high. Now, what's more important than monitor than COVID cases is COVID deaths. I'll scroll up so my head's out of the way here, okay? And so the number of deaths from COVID in Florida, for example, is close to an all-time high, all right, which is kind of frightening because of the Delta variant. And this has, of course, big business implications. So I think ultimately what's going to happen is once we find out that the number of deaths is decreasing, and once we get a handle on these next booster shots, whatever, I think things will improve. Yeah. Now, I just noticed a bunch of people dropped off, which is great real-time feedback. I can get back to other questions. All right. And Claudio said, I hope this message finds you well. Thank you. I've always been the fair and honest employee. Recently, I have asked my boss for a pay raise. Cool. Which was needed in order to get me a better mortgage quote. I asked, and it was denied. I chose to be honest with him with a resignation letter on the table. This is my third year with the company. However, yesterday I've explained to him that I'm looking for another job. Yeah. No, it's tough. So I think the best way to ask for a raise or promotion is the following. And let me preface it with saying that people that make CEO or vice president or they get promoted a lot, what we don't see is behind closed doors. They ask their managers for raises or promotions a lot. You'll never make CEO unless you ask. It's prophetic. Asking you'll receive. It's been true since the beginning of time. So here's how you do it. Let's say your boss compliments you on a massive milestone and is in a great mood. You say thank you, of course, and then you say, do you have time for a quick coffee or tea? And then you sit down with them and, you talk about how the team has accomplished a lot. And then you say, that being said, it's very expensive to raise a family in this region of the world, if true. And I want to be able to humbly provide as much as I can for my family. And so I'd love to ask you, please let me know what I need to accomplish, meaning what additional value do I need to add to the team in order to get promoted or a raise. And they'll tell you. And you take copious notes. And then the next time they congratulate you on doing a great job, and if you've achieved those milestones, then you ask them for the raise or the promotion. Right? And there's tactful ways to do it. Do it after you get complimented. And eventually you will get a raise or a promotion. And that's why a lot of people, what happens is when you're younger and you're in school, you get good grades, and life works out well because your parents are proud of you, etc. And then you start working and you keep your head down and you think you're going to get noticed. And then you look around and you realize, oh my gosh, other people are getting promoted faster than me. Why is that? It's because they asked. You always have to ask. Yeah. All right. Next up, Harsh said, Chris, your course is amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's right. You signed up for the MBA last week. Thank you. And then Abel said, hey, Chris, hope all is well. Likewise. What does becoming a leader mean to you? And what do you suggest volunteers do before graduating with finance? Okay, yeah. So 2 questions there. One is about leadership. The other one is about getting internships maybe so you can get a job. So when it comes to leadership, I think a great leader listens. I think a great leader motivates. I think a great leader provides a lot of positive feedback in public and only criticizes gently in private. I think a great leader believes in their employees so much that they don't have to micromanage them. They let them grow. I think a great leader also is not insecure. They don't feel like they've hired their assassins. Because if everybody works extraordinarily hard as part of a team, we all benefit. Yeah. So those are my humble thoughts on leadership, which I teach in a lot more detail in my MBA program. In terms of you getting an internship, what I would do is I would aggressively network It's very easy to get informational meetings leveraging LinkedIn and asking for meetings over Zoom. Because of COVID, it's tough to do in person. But nobody is asking. So there's less competition out there. So if you're in my MBA program, in the first semester, in the personal growth track, I talk about exactly how to network on steroids and get one-on-one meetings. And I say this, and I want to brag, but I'm humbled to say, that's what you say when you're about to brag in an interview or something. I'm humbled to say that my success rate on getting meetings with people I've never met by leveraging LinkedIn has always been at least 95%. And I don't say that to impress you. Rather, I say it to impress upon you the fact that anybody can do it. And in my MBA program, I teach that more detail. And what you can also do, if you want to learn how to network without buying my MBA program, is you can actually go to my website. Okay, so and I haven't gone there in a while because people criticize me for saying what I'm about to show you too much. But go to harounventures.com, scroll down quickly, and then right here you'll see I have a networking book. Okay, download this book. I promise you it will help you tremendously in your career, because relationships are always more important than product knowledge, and your network is your net worth. All right, give me one second. All right, here we go. Okay, cool. All right, next up, Dinesh. Hey, Dinesh wrote, hey, Chris, I'm loving the MBA program. I'm hooked. Awesome. Thank you, Dinesh. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Renardo, who wrote, hi, sir. Chris, please. Thanks for sharing. I learned a lot. Thank you. Thank you. When one teaches, two learn. That's why you have to mentor other people at work as well, because when you mentor other people, you're mentoring yourself. Yeah, and it's good practice for how to manage people. Okay. And then Harsh said, you look hot today, Chris. Oh la la. Oh, thank you. I'm doing something a little bit different. I kind of want to mix it up. Yeah. So it's kind of fun. I play around with the lights. I can get more serious on one side. So yeah, having fun, mixing it up. Thank you. Okay. Andre wrote, good morning, Chris and everyone. What news channels do you watch? Yeah, I don't watch any news channels. But my wife, Christine, during dinner when we're cooking, she'll turn on just local Bay Area news. And it's interesting because when I was a kid, my parents would watch, 60 Minutes every Sunday night in the news, and CNN breaking news, which was always negative. And the younger generation, they don't watch that stuff. And if they're around their parents watching that stuff, they're watching YouTube, TikTok, whatever. So the younger generation, that's my son, Dylan. That's him putting on his master in COVID. Graduation shot, yeah. He's like a son to me. I love him. Yeah. But the younger generation grew up digital. They're positive people, much more positive than the older generation, because they don't consume traditional media. Yeah. But in order to prepare actually for the weekly call and to teach you those 7 topics, news topics from the week, and how we can benefit career-wise or investment-wise, what I do is I actually do a search. I'll show you exactly. The content aggregator I look at, I don't read the articles, but I want to show you quickly what I do. So I always go to Google News, okay? And then what I do is, once I'm here, it's a nice aggregation service. On the left side here, I click on business, and then I just skim all the headlines here to decide what to teach about this week, that sort of thing. I don't read the articles, though. I do my own my own research always, yeah. I never read editorials. Always do your own research, because nobody's smarter than you. And I believe that so much, no one's smarter than you, that I licensed that Steve Jobs video from the Silicon Valley Historical Association that I end every webcast with. Yeah. All right, next up, I watched a lot of MLB TV, though. I love baseball. All right, next up, E. Pronto, who's from Toronto. Remember that. E. Pronto from Toronto wrote, good morning, Chris. Hope all is well, likewise. Can you comment on the new the news Amazon is going to hire 50,000 IT professionals, most of them based in the United States. It's a tight market fit for IT pros, becoming even tighter. Yeah. So Amazon is the second largest employer in the country after Walmart. And so, Amazon is expanding quickly. The economy is doing fine, whatever. We've certainly got a shortage of chips, every kind of product out there, right? And so from a fulfillment perspective, it's a secular growth story, because a lot of people are, because of COVID, they're not going to shop as much. And I order my groceries over Amazon now as well, just for COVID reasons. Yeah. So I'm not surprised they're hiring a lot of people. Yeah. All right. Next up, Claudia wrote, Okay, and I think that's a dupe. I answered that one, thanks. Colin Hodge, hey Colin. Colin wrote, hey Chris, hope all's well with you and your family. I love the LinkedIn posts, keep them coming. Thank you, I appreciate that, thank you. Sometimes I feel like I'm screaming into the wind though. Like I don't, like my YouTube channel, we're getting close to 50,000 subscribers, and people say, why is your channel not bigger? And there's many reasons I suck and all that stuff, but also I'll never take any sponsorships because I want to stay true and pure to my students. It's not about money, it's about serving my students. Yeah. And the second I take advertisements, and I get approached all the time, is when I'm no longer serving you. Yeah. And if it becomes about money only, then forget it, man. Yeah. All right, next up, Mohammed. Hey, Mohammed wrote, hey, Chris, how do you deal with the fear of missing out? Yeah, FOMO, F-O-M-O. You see all the people around you doing big things, and you feel bad for not being able to do what they do. Yeah. So, I read this book called The Art of Happiness that you should all read. It's great, by the Dalai Lama. And he said the problem with Western society where I live is that we tend to compare ourselves to those that have more. And the only time you should look into your neighbor's bowl is to see if they have at least as much as you. And the cancer of Wall Street, actually, I used to work on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs. The cancer of Wall Street is you're never happy because around bonus season, you're always comparing yourself to the person that got $20 or $30 million bonus, whatever. How much can we eat, right? It's a very dangerous way to live, right? Don't live that way. And the way to not live that way is tell yourself, I don't give a damn what people think of me. I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to speak my mind nicely, of course, and do what I want to do. I'm not going to become a doctor, lawyer, engineer because my parents want me to. Otherwise, I'll be miserable my whole life. I'm going to chase my passion. I'm going to fail, and I'm going to make it big. But I'm going to fail a lot because, as Michael Jordan said, I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. You got to tell yourself, I just don't care. And it's so liberating to say that as well. I don't care what people think of me. Yeah. How's my hair today, by the way? Just kidding. All right, next up, I have got... next up, I've got Arnab. And Arnab is saying, hi, I'm doing your MBA course on Udemy. It's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Can you compare cultural differences between West and Eastern workplaces, meaning task-oriented versus relationship-oriented, monochromatic versus poly, etc.? Yeah. I think that regardless of where you work in the world, you have to be able to network and find mini Yodas within your company in order for them to teach you the rules and how to get promoted, etc. And I think that we should always get assistants to mentor us as well, because they've worked with their boss at many different companies and they know the rules in terms of how to impress your boss, that sort of thing. Yeah. So I think that business is similar globally, and that relationships are always more important than product knowledge. And I know that it might feel like in some countries, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. But I really do think that you have to get outside your comfort zone and network a lot within your company and with potential customers, leveraging LinkedIn and all the stuff I teach in my MBA program in order to reach your full potential in life. Yeah, relationships are more important than product knowledge. Yeah. All right. And in my MBA program, I provide you with a ton of arrows in your quiver or tools in your toolbox so you can solve any business situation or manage people, etc. Okay. All right. Next up, Samir wrote, hey, Chris, good morning. A very informative webcast today. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we got Tado. Bonjour. Good morning. Je veux faire le grasse matinée ce matin. And Tado wrote, hi, Mr. Chris. Good learning for everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I spoke French in school before I spoke English. I spoke English in the 4th grade only. My dad immigrated from Egypt, came to Canada, met my mom, and they wanted me to learn a different language when I was younger. So I learned French. Went to the Toronto French School. Yeah. My French is awful. All right. But when I go out to dinner, when I go to a restaurant, when the waiter is there, I'll be reading the menu. And this is how I teach, by the way. I provide you a menu of careers and you pick one, but I expose you to everything. But the waiter will say, what the specials are. And I'll ask always this. I'll say, what is the soup du jour? And the waiter will say, that's the soup of the day. And then I'll say, that sounds great. I'll have that. Thank you. That's where I proposed to my wife in Paris. Yeah. I was so insecure she'd say no. Okay. She said yes. All right. Next up, Samir wrote, hey, what do you think about buying real estate before buying my own place? No. You wrote, for example, buying a property today and paying rent in my place for 7 years before buying my own place. Yeah. So I would, I think rent is one of the biggest wastes of money. And I had to rent until my 30s before I could afford a place in New York. And if you take the amount of money that you're going to spend in rent and you model it out in Excel over 50 years and you discount it using the NPV function, which I can show you if you want me to, you'll find that that's close to $10 million. And every country, or almost every country, they give you incentives to buy your own place, okay? And there's retirement savings programs as well. And so when you have enough money, buy your own place as quickly as possible because you get a lot of tax write-offs as well. Yeah, and you don't waste money on rent. Again, I had to wait until I was older, till my 30s. Yeah, but it's never too late to start over. Yeah. All right. And once you buy your first place, and if, once you've maxed out your 401k or your retirement savings, then max out your kids' educational savings accounts, tax-free, and then look to buy other investments. And as Warren Buffett said, you have to spend what is left after saving instead of saving what is left after spending. And times are tough now, I get it. But if you have that mentality longer term, you'll do incredibly well. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Homework Helper Pro wrote, hey, Chris, this is Fahmed. Hey, Fahmed, hope you're doing well. Good to see you. I look different today. I've never worn something like this before. All right, E Pronto from Toronto is saying, I see nobody commented yet for the bonus point. Oh, here you go. That's right. I showed the lawyer from the TV show Breaking Bad. And his name was, you wrote here, Saul Goodman. Very good. And Jimmy, that's right, James McGill in Better Call Saul. Brilliant show. Recently finished watching them. Yeah. I loved it. I loved it. Yeah. It was great. Breaking Bad was dope. All right. Next up, Sean wrote, what are some market research sources? Yeah. So the best way to analyze companies is, number one, go to their annual report. Okay. And you can go to sec.gov in America to read annual reports, or you do a search for what is the equivalent of sec.gov in your country name. Okay, read the annual report, quarterly report, the S1 filing if you can find it for when the company went public. This is Facebook's from 2012. And then after that, go to the website of the company, go to Investor Relations. Okay, and then read everything that they offer there to investors. And the big hedge funds and mutual funds, by law, they're not allowed to get any of that information before you do. It's part of what's called Regulation FD, fair disclosure. So you get all that information online. And there's 100 more things I can tell you about how to invest in companies. And what I'll do is, if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to my website, harounventures.com, and then you can click here and join me September 10th at 11 a.m. for a free web class. Okay, where I'll teach you a lot about investing, saving money, and all that great stuff. Yeah. And great job, Joey and Lionel, for putting that together. All right. All right, next up, Mr. Nobody wrote, hey, Chris, do you think that holding stocks under a personal account is unsafe, or we should form a company to invest in stocks for security purposes, and how do you hold them? Yeah, no, personal is fine. Personal is fine, unless you're managing money for other people, in which case you have to get a lawyer to write an investment offering memorandum and put the money in a separate account, not your savings account, of course. But there's nothing wrong with just holding it in your own account. I don't believe in registering a company name just to manage your own stocks. It's too costly. Yeah. And there's no benefits. Yeah. All right. Next up, Mr. Nobody wrote, do you think Coupang will be the next e-com monopoly? And then you wrote, Bill Gates withdraw his position from Apple, Twitter, and put it into Coupang. I'm not knowledgeable enough on Coupang, but I will do research on it and make a segment on that for you in future weeks. Thank you. And then Mr. Nobody wrote, hey, Chris, I'm from India, and currently I'm building my own web design and marketing agency to stack up some cash so that one day I'll be able to visit the United States, especially Silicon Valley. Very cool. Very cool. Excellent. Excellent. And you can always take my my complete business plan course if you want to learn how to make a great business plan, because most people don't write business plans, and failing to plan is planning to fail. That's my cheesy used car salesman quote of the day. Write a full business plan first. I teach it in my complete business plan course. I also have a venture capital boot camp that goes into a lot more detail in the 3rd of 4 semesters in my MBA program. Yeah. All with 30-day money-back guarantees, of course. All right. And if you're curious about how to get a job in another country, okay, if your goal is to move to another country, and I made a vlog about this. I won't go into too much detail on it, but if you go to my website, Haroun Ventures, and you do a search up here on any topic, I've answered more than 10,000 questions live over the past couple of years in my MBA program, as well as during these weekly webcasts. You can search for it here. Search for the word move, I guess. You'll find it. There's so much here. Yeah, here it is here. Want to move to another country? Here's a long-term visa strategy with career advice, I guess. And then you click here, and you could see a video of it. Okay, let me close that, save bandwidth. All right. It's a way for me to repurpose my content so I can work smarter, not harder. All right. Next up, Gui wrote, I always try and clear my schedule for Thursday. Unfortunately, I'll miss most of today. Please watch the replay if you want to. Thank you for your support. Thank you. Next up, I got Manas from India, who wrote, good morning, my dear mentor. Good morning to you. What a lovely day. Every day is great. And then you wrote, one lesson Gary Vaynerchuk was hiring content creators, and I applied, but later on I got rejected. I'm not sad, but I'm happy because at least I tried. Yeah. You only have to be right in business one time. Yeah. And I don't believe in just sending out your resume when you see an online opening. It doesn't work. Why? Because thousands of other people apply at the same time. There's a better way. And the better way is to network aggressively, to get informational meetings, get to know people and companies you want to work at, and then you can ask for a job. And I teach that strategy in a lot of detail in the first semester of my MBA program. Yeah. And you wrote a great book, Manas, using my book template called Bonds Over Business. You want to make sure you bring that to any informational meeting you have, if it's in person. And try to network as much as you can, please, using Zoom. Because nobody's doing it, which means there's less competition. And it works. It works. It's free, too. Zoom is free to use for 45 minutes sessions, yeah. And then with respect to not getting the gig at Gary V's company, Manas wrote, that makes me happy and made my day. What matters is trying, because the harder I work, the luckier I get. I love that quote. It's fantastic. I love it. I love it. You don't have to be right. You only have to be right one time business. And Manas wrote, when is your real estate course coming out? We're waiting. Yeah. So I'm going to be releasing first my complete options course. It's coming soon. And then I'll do the real estate one. Now, when it comes to options, like I'm humbled to say I got the top grade in my options class when I did an MBA in finance at Columbia University 8 million years ago. But the problem is I kind of memorized this stuff and I didn't really understand it. And so I've retaught myself options from scratch, and it's complicated, but I'm gonna make it fun and easy to do. And I'm setting it up on a brick by brick basis. You guys will love these props. It's fun. I am 7.5. But in the course, I have a lot of bricks so that we understand the basics of shorting a stock, and we talk about puts and all that stuff from scratch. And then what will happen is, then you get the bigger picture. It'll all make sense, right? And you guys all know I love to use props when I teach, just so you remember. Because when you're a kid, remember you went to school and the teacher taught you. You don't remember anything, but you remember the props that your buddies brought in for show and tell that day. So I use a lot of props. And when you all present, I recommend buying props from eBay. Okay. And then what you can do is after you buy them and use them in the presentation, you sell it back to eBay. So it's like a 5 or 10% restocking fee, so to speak. Yeah. All right. And then with respect to my real estate course, I bought a couple of buildings up in Canada. I'm going to fly up there and I'll show you why I bought them and how I'm doing okay on them and stuff. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Gregory from Europe is saying, Chris, what do you think about providing a business case study for a group Slack activity? Yeah. It's a great idea, and I actually do have Slack for all of my MBA classes. They get free Slack forever. They network with each other. There's a great alumni network we have now, which is awesome. Even if you're in the on-demand silver version, there's a Slack channel for you as well that many people use a lot. Yeah. All right. And Manas wrote, do you feel that Clubhouse will be going public in a year or two? What if it doesn't go public? Yeah, I'm sure that the venture capital firms are pressuring them to think about going public or do a SPAC while the market is still doing well. And if you're curious about the difference between a SPAC and an IPO, I like IPOs much better, traditional ones. Go to my website, harounventures.com, and at the top, just search for SPAC or IPO. Yeah. And I'll do a segment on Clubhouse soon. I will, thank you, because a lot of my students are asking about it. Yeah. And my MBA program is always up to date. So whatever technologies are created in the future to help us do social media stuff, I'll create content on that as well. For example, for TikTok, you can just go to my website, do a search for TikTok. You'll see my thoughts there and how to leverage it to grow your company. All right. And then Manas wrote, I'm literally on your delegation course. Oh, great. Thank you. That's right. And I'm on 53% so far, and I'm loving it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And then you wrote, when you teach, it feels like Picasso is painting. You're a genius of art. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And you've made people like me. Lots of love and support. God bless you. I appreciate it. And I try to be, look, I make a ton of mistakes. I failed so many times in my life, but what I love doing is I always love to teach and do things in a different way. And I try to be artistic as well and teach with props and make it more fun and engaging. And I take risks and I fail a lot, sort of thing, but it's fun. And I think that if we can be artistic about work and creative, then it's much more fun and you'll push the goalpost out as well. Thank you. God bless you. Thanks. Moving on to Sanyam, who wrote, Chris, when it comes to real estate, I'm confused. The reason is not the rental yields in the city is around 3%. How should I go about building an informed decision? The past CAGR, which is compound annual growth, of 7% in cap appreciation. Yeah. So give me 1 second. I happens, it jumps on me sometimes, so I'll search for the word real estate and find it. Real estate. Sorry, guys. All right. I see the word real. Give me 1 second. So sorry about this. Okay, I found it. Thanks. All right. Yeah. So the reason I mentioned buy your own place first is because you do get that tax deduction. You know, when it comes to what should you pay for a house, of course, you look at the similar houses around that area. Go to Zillow.com if you want to. Find similar houses and what they're valued at. And you always want to buy the crappiest house in the nicest neighborhood instead of buying the nicest house in the crappiest neighborhood. But the most important thing when it comes to real estate, the three most important things is location, location, location. I'll teach all about that in my upcoming real estate course. Thank you. All right. And the best way to learn something is to teach it. I'm learning a lot. Yeah. All right, moving on to, and if I missed anybody, paste it again, please. Moving on to Dinesh. Dinesh wrote, what do you think about the cryptocurrency Matic and its future? Mark Cuban invested $4 billion in it a few months ago. Wow, I didn't realize he put that much in. It's amazing. Yeah. I don't know anything about it. But in my cryptocurrency course, I give you a framework of 49 steps. And I have a more up-to-date version in my MBA degree program. I give you 49 steps to analyze cryptocurrencies. And I based it on lawyers and investment bankers writing S1 documents so that you can do much more research. I think that most cryptocurrencies are an absolute scam. There's 4 that I own, I have held, I'll never sell. I publicly disclose them. I'm not telling you to buy, just do your research, but I'll tell you what I own. So forever, I've owned Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple, and Ether, or Ethereum. Yeah. And I mine Ether too, or I will until December when they change the rules. All right. Next up we got Garbett, who wrote, hi, Chris. Thanks for the amazing content. You're most welcome. What would you suggest about the equity distribution in the beginning of the startup? And what can we do to not get massively diluted in the investment round A? Yeah. So first of all, read the investment offering memorandum and make sure that you understand what kind of shares you're getting. So there's two classes of shares. There's preferred shares and common shares. Okay. So when you buy stocks in the stock market, it's common shares. It's the lowest of the low, hence the word common. When you invest in private companies, it can either be preferred or common. If it's preferred, you get preferential treatment, hence the name preferred. And you won't get diluted as much. So make sure it's preferred and not common. And obviously, if you're going to invest a massive amount, get a lawyer to read over that investment offering memorandum first. Yeah. But you will get diluted. It doesn't matter, right? Because you're going to be worth a lot more if the value of that company goes up. And so, Bill Gates, he never owned more than 50% of Microsoft when it was public. But what happens is when new shares are created, as long as a company is doing well, the stock price goes up. Yes, there's more shares, but the stock price goes up a lot more to compensate for the increase in shares. Yeah. And in Silicon Valley, I used to work in venture capital, and the founder of the companies usually had no more than 20 or 30% ownership in the company by the time they were at the B or C round. Yeah. And the going rate for getting a good VP of engineering for an A round is maybe 5% of the company. Yeah. And they'll get diluted, but the value of their shares will go up a lot. Yeah. All right. Next up, Innerworth wrote interesting facts about why there's so many PC gamers in China. It's fascinating, eh? Really, really interesting. Yeah. And recently, China got rid of the one-child per family policy, and they're now allowing you to have 3 kids. And the reason they did that was because in the first time in like hundreds of years, the population in China went down slightly last year. Yeah. And it's even worse in Japan. It breaks my heart. I used to do a lot of Japanese equities. Japan's population is 130 million. And by the year, 2050, it's going to go down to 80 million. Just people aren't having kids. It's tragic. Yeah. All right. And then Innerworth said, glad to see you're a libertarian, Chris. Thanks. I go back and forth between Democrat and Republican. I vote for, whatever one is going to provide the most freedoms. So I go back and forth. I grew up loving Ronald Reagan as a kid in Canada. Then I came to the States and I thought I was a Republican, but I'm usually not. Sometimes I am. I don't know. It's a tough call. But I believe that my students can accomplish anything. Hence the libertarian comment. Thank you. All right. Next up, Abel wrote, good morning, Chris. I love this weekly webcast. It's very helpful. Thank you. Can you describe what innovation means? Yeah. In general, it's a new way of doing something that hasn't been done before. It's a way of disrupting a market. And so you've got Mark Andreessen, who's probably the smartest venture capitalist in the world, along with Peter Thiel. Mark Andreessen, who started Andreessen Horowitz, he said that software is eating the world. And he said that over and over and over again. And he was the guy that founded Netscape, the first commercial browser, years ago. Software is eating the world. And what he means by this is software, meaning internet cloud-based software. People are using it to find new ways to disrupt old industries, kind of like what Uber has done for the taxi industry. And so innovation, in my humble opinion, means disruption. Okay, next up, Manas wrote, my mentor, I have a question, sure. Why do entrepreneurs buy sports teams like Mark Cuban and Gary Vaynerchuk? What profits they earn by purchasing these things? Yeah, so Gary Vee has not bought the sports team yet. He wants to buy the New York Jets. And I love he's doing that because he's vocalizing his goal. And I think he set a deadline date as well, I think. Right? But if you vocalize your goal, eventually it puts pressure on you in a good way, I say with love in your heart, to get it done. But I do worry a lot, okay, about when founders of companies, have new pet projects or they buy a sports team. And I used to work in the hedge fund industry, and we did an analysis. When a founder buys a sports team, after you do other research, it might mean it's a good short. And I have a lot of friends that own big stakes in a lot of sports teams, and they don't make money from it, right? Sometimes it's ego, or you make money on the capital gains once you sell it in the future. Yeah. Okay. I'd love to buy the Toronto Blue Jays one day. All right. Next up, somebody by the name of Alert for False Case wrote, I love your webcast from my heart. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. First time I've seen you on the call. I hope you join us again. Moving on to Manas. Manas wrote, so this Sunday, I'm going for the Asia Book of Records, of World Records. I'm going to receive a customized certificate from these organizations. Please do wish me luck and thank you because nothing could have been possible without the Haroun Education Ventures family. And God bless you forever. Thank you. And God bless you much more. Thank you. Good luck too. Thank you. All right. Moving on to Amel, who wrote, hey, Chris, this is one of the best financial and personal development channels on YouTube. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. What trading platforms do you recommend for options trading for Canadians and why? Thank you and God bless you. Thank you. God bless you way, way more. So I'm going to show you something that I've been using for my options course. And what I'm about to show you, you can do this in any country, okay, to practice trading. And please don't just start investing. Practice first a lot. What I'm going to show you, you can do in any country using a VPN. So what I'm going to do is there's this company called, this is my software I run this webcast from. Hey there. There's this company called Thinkorswim, okay? Actually, it's called Ameritrade. They own Thinkorswim. And this is the best way to learn how to invest. So you can do a search on Thinkorswim and download the software for free and invest with a paper pretend portfolio. I'm buying time until I can log in here. So what you do is you select live trading or paper money, okay? And I'm going to log in. I'm going to show you exactly what I do. And this is a great way to learn, right? Hold on a second. So I'm logging into a paper money account, and I'm using this to teach my students in my upcoming options course how to invest in options, right? The simple way, the fun way as well. And so what you can do here, and it's going to look intimidating, don't let it intimidate you, please. But what you can do is you can buy stocks, you can analyze the heck out of them. This here is a call option. It tells you where you make money and sort of thing. And then you can actually put on trades. Right, so if I type, let's buy an option together right now. So if I type in right now, Tesla, TSLA, okay, I'm going to buy an option. And I'll tell you quickly what it means. I'll explain it in more detail in my options course. But I want you to practice this stuff, please, before doing it for real. So right now we have Tesla. And the way it works is you can buy calls or puts. Calls means you invest a tiny bit of money. And if the stock goes up, you make a lot. But if it goes down, you only lose this amount of money. A put is the opposite. If you think the stock's going to go down, you buy a put. If the stock goes down, you make a lot. If it goes up, you lose that much. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to look here at options for Tesla. And so Tesla, ticker TSLA. Right here you see when these options contracts expire, and they're always on Fridays. It is what it is, unless there's a holiday on Friday, in which case sometimes it's Thursday. So what we'll do is I'm going to buy the September 17th, okay? Let's see here, strike price. Strike price means where you're going to make money on it if it's above a certain price. So I'm going to, right now, Tesla is at $738. Okay, you can see it up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy here a Tesla September 17th, 700 call. Okay, so what you do is you go here, and I was shorting it before just for informational purposes. You select buy, and I'm going to buy one contract. Now, when you buy options, you always multiply it by 100. Okay, so although the price here in this paper pretend portfolio, it says here, around 47 bucks. That means if I buy it at 47 bucks, that it's actually going to be 47 times 100. It'll cost me 4,700 bucks because when you buy options, each contract represents 100 stocks. There's amazing leverage to make money or protect money. So what I'll do, and my head's covering this in the corner, but I'm going to do this as a market order, and I'm going to confirm and send here. All right. I'll click send. There we go. Rejected. Buying power will be 0 if this is accepted. Okay. I have too many pretend trades on right now. Let me try that again. Let's go down here, and let me go to a cheaper option. Okay, let's go to, I don't know, something. Let's go to Apple, which has a lower stock price, 150 bucks or so. All right, so we go to Apple here, and then what we can do, I feel like Bill Gates during all of his demos, he used to mess up during live demos. So what we'll do is we'll go here to Apple. There we go. Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm having an issue with this right now, guys. So, but I'm not going to give up. So we go here to Apple, and I'm going to buy the Apple 40 calls, right? So I go here to buy, and I'll buy the call here, okay? And then what I'll do is I'll buy one options contract, and the price is going to be $113, and I'll make it a market order, okay? So you multiply it by 100, and it got rejected as well. My buying power will be 0. Okay, so clearly I've overextended myself with this practice platform here. That's okay. I make mistakes. Yeah, so I'll have to fix that up for when I teach. Don't take my options course. I clearly don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, just kidding. It's coming out soon. Yeah, but the bottom line there is that if you are going to transact in options or stocks, just download Thinkorswim, that application, and create a paper portfolio and trade for fun. Okay. And don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. Okay. All right. All right. And by the way, one more thing I want to show you, just real quick here, guys. Okay. I want to show you that you can get options data from Yahoo Finance. You go to finance.yahoo.com. And the way you know that a stock has options is if you type the ticker and you scroll down and you see here the word options. And if there's something here, they have options. And so everything I just showed you, you can do here as well, right? You can look at it here. So here's calls, and below the calls are puts. So I went to the September 17th, okay? And I bought those Apple, or try to buy those Apple calls. But you can see all the details here. If you have any questions about this, let me know. But this is something I'm going to be teaching in a heck of a lot more detail in my options course. Okay. All right, next up, I have got a question from Marco. Marco said, I applied for a job as a product owner, and they gave me a job as a business analyst. After 3 months at the company, I'm currently doing the product owner role, but I'm still the business analyst. Do you think that's fair? Yeah. So you'll never get that promotion or raise unless you ask. And earlier on the webcast, I mentioned exactly how to ask for a promotion. And you can go to my website, harounventures.com, and search at the top for how to get a promotion. I have a video on that will help you out tremendously. Yeah, make sure to only ask for that promotion when your boss, says something great about you and is in a good mood. Yeah, and the whole strategy is outlined in one of my vlogs if you search. Thank you. All right. Sanjay wrote, how do you become a multi-billionaire in 3 years? Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. So the best way to do it, if you want to go down a path, is you start your own company. Okay, like Mark Zuckerberg did. He started this back in 2003, and within a couple years on paper, he was worth billions. And so you surround yourself with venture capitalists that will invest in your company. And that way, on paper, within a few years, if things go well, you may be a billionaire. But then it's going to take you probably 5 or 10 years after that before you can turn that into cash, meaning when the company goes public and the venture capitalists harvest that investment. Yeah. Check out Kylie Jenner. She did it somehow. The youngest billionaire in the world. All right. And I did do a vlog on Kylie Jenner as well. You can search for that. All right, next up, Ganesh wrote, hi, Chris. I just graduated. Congratulations. And I want to start a job in finance, but I can't get a job. I've been there. What should I show to my employers? Should I show some financial analysis, meaning your portfolio? Yeah. So one thing I recommend is when you show up to these informational meetings, okay, when you set them up, and I teach you how to do it in my MBA program, I want you to bring a one-page write-up. Okay, and if it's and I provide you all the templates in my MBA program. If it's a finance job, I want you to create a one-pager, okay, which details your thoughts on the fundamentals, valuation, and technicals (FVT) of that company. And you create mini write-ups and keep emailing them out or send them over LinkedIn to whoever you met with or want to meet with. And eventually they'll respond, say, okay, let's meet. I've done that a lot in my career, and that's how I've gotten all my jobs. Okay, you got to be preemptive. Every battle is won before it's been fought. And when you go to interviews or informational meetings, always understand that people are motivated by 3 things. Number 1, they want to make more money. Number 2, they want to get promoted faster. And number 3, they want to enjoy what they do. So find a way to enhance their lives from one of those 3 aforementioned perspectives. If you're meeting with a salesperson, then what you do is you put together a list of people you think might want to buy their product. And you use your network to do that over LinkedIn, and I teach that. Why? Because if you can prove to them you're doing the job before you get hired or during just an informational meeting, your chances go up materially. And the fact you're helping them to either make more money, get promoted faster, or enjoy their job is going to set you aside from the competition. Yeah. All right. Okay, cool. Oh, Paul, good to see you. Paul, it's been a while, man. Hope you're doing well. Okay, and then after Paul, Ganesh wrote here, thank you so much in advance. God bless you for what you do. Thank you. God bless you more. I really enjoy Office Hours. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, Siri just started talking for some reason. Okay. All right, and then Paul wrote, hey, Chris, why are most wealthy people like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates buying so much land? Yeah. So my grandfather, God bless him, he used to always say to me growing up, Chrissy, buy land. They're not making it anymore. It's a smart decision. And the largest landowner in America is Ted Turner, the founder of CNN. It's a smart decision, especially now given COVID, because the whole world has proved that in many companies, not all, you don't have to be in big cities. And so I would be short New York real estate and long middle America real estate. And so the smart money is buying a lot of land, yeah. So I think it makes sense. And you can actually buy land pretty cheap in Texas, for example, as long as you give up the mineral rights, meaning if somebody finds oil, they get the rights to that. But you can still buy the land, yeah. Or you can just invest in REITs, REITs, which have nice dividend yields usually, yeah. Because by law, they got to pay out 90% of their operating profit as in the form of dividend, yeah. All right, next up, Ricardo wrote here, hey, Chris, what is the certification on your MBA? Cheers from England. Cheerio. Hope you're doing well. So the problem with traditional MBA schools is they're very, very expensive. They don't teach you practical skills you can use in the real world, like how to manage your own money. They teach you how to manage other people's money. They don't teach you how to sell. They don't teach you how to present. They don't teach you how to interview. They don't teach you the most important things in business. They teach you stuff that was relevant literally last century. And so I don't want any standards body ever tell me what I can and cannot teach. I walk through walls for my students. I do whatever it takes to make them successful, including a 30-day 100% money back guarantee. As a result, I will never do accreditation. I don't want any government body telling me what I can or can't say, or get mad at me if I say God bless you. I don't want anybody telling me what I can and can't teach, because they are part of the problem. Yeah. And I have a lot of people that take my MBA program that have MBAs from top schools, and they tell me humbly that they learned way, way more in 1 month from my program than they did from the 2 years in their MBA school, which cost them $100,000. Yeah. All right. And if you're curious about learning more about what like the way I teach and stuff, you know, what you can do is just go here to my website. Whoops. Go here to my website. I'll teach you how to not use the internet too. Go here to my website. And then on my website, you click right here and you can join my event on September 10th at 11 a.m. And there will not be a replay for it. But if you want, you can join in. I'll teach you a lot of stuff. It'll feel like my MBA class too. And I promise you, you'll love it. Yeah. All right. Moving on to Heathens Nations music. God bless you. Second chance. I love you. You wrote, Good Morgen, all. Good morning to you as well. Guten Abend. And then you wrote, Chris, I'm currently working through Angela. Angela so she's a great teacher online on Udemy. She teaches tech stuff. She's great. She used to be a doctor, but she decided she wants to teach instead, which is cool. So I'm currently working through Angela's course called Full Stack Development. I have a desire to keep doing music, but also freelance in web services development. Which Haroun Ventures courses on Udemy do you recommend for me to supplement these goals? I'm planning a great business plan for long term. Yeah. So what I would do is just take my complete job course, or pardon me, not my complete business plan course. That will help you out a lot. It's on Udemy. In my MBA program, I go in a lot more detail through a venture capital boot camp. And I want to give you all a free course while we're talking about this, right? Chris Haroun teaches you how to run a business by giving away stuff for free. So you can go to my website, harounventures.com/complete job. Okay, all lowercase. And what I'm doing is, for a limited amount of time, I'm giving away my complete job course, so you can get the job of your dreams. It's free. Click here. Click here. I promise you it works. Yeah. And that was a course that I've always had a lifetime money back guarantee on, because I'm so confident it'll help you. Yeah. And it makes me feel good to help people. Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Let me get a little bit of water here. All right. My wife is in Canada visiting her family, and I'm here with the boys every now and then, so I have to help Dylan with school and stuff. That's my kid, yeah. So, all right, that's why I keep checking it. Okay, next up, Mr. Trump wrote, "Hey, Chris, how should we decide what industry is best for us?" Yeah, great question. So the way to find your passion is to think to yourself, if you were given a month off and you can't work, you can't go to school, and you can't travel, what would you do with your time? What excites you? And once you figure that out, then take my complete job course, which I just showed you for free, and network to get a job in that industry or an internship, or take my complete business plan course, because that will teach you how to start a company in every single sector as well. But it's got to feel like something you're passionate about, you know. And this is a life-changing quote. I love this one here. You know, and what I'm going to do, this is what YouTubers do. They point to something, and that becomes the thumbnail image, right? And they take a screenshot. So I'll point here, and I'll give you my cheesy smile. And I'll know to go to 9:48 my time to make that the quote. But the thumbnail image. The two most important days in your life are, number one, the day you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. And if you haven't found your passion yet, you'll know it when you do. Because when you find your passion, your purpose, your raison d'être, the reason you were put on this earth, it feels like lightning in a bottle, you know? And this is a prop for my options course. We're doing Coca-Cola options. It feels like lightning in a bottle. It feels like when you find your love in life, your passion in life, career-wise, it feels like the joy you feel when you hold your child for the first time. Not as good, because having a kid is better, but it's that kind of euphoric feeling. And once you feel that in the pit of your stomach, you get butterflies in your heart. So you're so excited, like I am right now doing this. That's when you found your passion. And you don't listen to anybody after that. You run after that. You go and get it. And you don't listen to people around you, like parents that tell you to be a lawyer or an engineer or whatever. You don't think about impressing your friends. You run after it, like Elon Musk has done. Right? He doesn't give a damn what people think of him. He doesn't care. You know, the guy's been talking about colonizing Mars forever. He doesn't care. And we got to be the same way as well. I don't give a damn what people think. This is my life, and this is what I'm passionate about, and I'm going after it. You know, people for ages thought I was crazy. No, they're probably right, because I wasn't working in venture capital and I wanted to teach. And when and you want people to think you're crazy, and I'll explain why in a second. So when I quit VC in 2016 to teach online full time, people thought I was nuts. I would get calls from venture capital firms for the first year or two after that, and hedge funds saying, "Hey, are you done with this teaching thing? Do you want to come back to work?" And I said no. And so when you start your own company and you do something that nobody has done before, or at least do something that's not very popular, people think you're crazy, and that's a good thing because there's not much competition. And then what happens is you get some success, and people think, oh, maybe a crazy genius. And then you get a lot of success, and people just say genius. But and people still think I'm crazy. There's no genius in me. But along the way, people are going to question, your intentions and why you're doing what you're doing. And you just got to say, I don't care. You got to chase your dreams. Because if you chase money, what happens is quite often you lose your dreams and your money. But if you chase your dreams and you don't give a damn what other people think, and you fail a bunch, which you should, then something wonderful happens. Your dreams come true, and the money follows accidentally. It always does when you're doing what you were meant to be doing in life. And that's my goal, is to help my students find their passion. And going back to my menu idea, analogy, I'm a waiter, hopefully a good waiter with decent food, and my job is to expose you to different types of careers and frameworks and ways to analyze business situations. And you could choose one. You don't choose everything. You choose one. And if you want the souffle, you got to order it 20 minutes ahead of time. Yeah. And you'll notice my posture it's not that great. So what I've been doing is I wear this thing around my, I wear this right here to work on my posture. I'm always trying to push the goalpost out. This product here, what it does, and people stick it on their back. I bought this necklace thing instead. What this does, it's called Upright Go, is it vibrates every time I lean over a little bit too much, right? And so, yeah, it actually hooks up to my iPhone here. I'll show you here exactly. Yeah. So there's an app that comes with it, okay? And what happens is if you bend down for too long, oops, it's not on me, that's why. You'll see that it actually moves down, and it vibrates as well when it's on me. Yeah, when my posture is not correct. There's no electric shock; it just vibrates. Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up, Paul wrote, "Thanks, Chris, for the great content. Thank you for the emojis. You provide you're an ocean of knowledge. Thank you. God bless you, Paul. Good to see you. Thank you." All right, moving on to Kevin, who wrote, "Good afternoon." Good afternoon to you too, Kevin. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Barkay wrote, "Thanks for all the information." You're welcome, Barkay. And I've never seen you on the call, and welcome. I'd love to have you join us again. Thank you. Okay. Next up, we've got Mist Nirmalmana. And if I ever mispronounce anyone's names, please tell me, please. And I'm so sorry if I do. Who wrote, "Hi, sir, big fan here. Thank you. Can you guide us anything for Indians in the Indian market? I mean, your methods are for the United States. We don't have access to all those techniques here." Yeah. So let me give you my entire MBA course for free. So what you do, and I'm going to go here into incognito mode so that I don't have cookies that remember where I was. So what you do is go to learn.harounventures.com. Okay, and anybody can take this if you want. And I made this free earlier this year because a lot of people in India, a lot of my students were at home because of COVID. So what you do is you scroll down, okay, and then you'll find an entire MBA in one course. It's in English, but also in Hindi. It's here somewhere. Where is it here? Should be here. You'll find it here. Yeah. Oh, here we go. You go to the next page, I think. Yeah. It's here. I promise you, it's here somewhere. It's here. Yeah. Oh, here it is here. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So right here, you can take it. It's English with Hindi subtitles. You can take it for free if you want to. And all my courses, by the way, they're all like I teach from a universal perspective, and so everything I teach is generic enough to apply in every country. Yeah, and I know for a fact it works well in India as well. Yeah, it's free. Okay. All right, and then Paul wrote, "Hey Chris, how should a new player look at his contract in a national volleyball team, what are the pitfalls to look out for? Yeah. So I'll make this as generic answer to apply to everybody. But regardless of what industry you work in, whenever you get an employment contract, don't sign it until you get a lawyer to look at it, especially for smaller companies. Okay. And this has saved me a fortune in the past. Okay. And it sucks to pay that fee to a lawyer, but you have to do it. I promise you it's a great investment. And so in terms of what to look out for, I would look for little disclosures or legalese here and there in the contract saying, you're not allowed to play volleyball for another team for 2 years after you quit, that sort of thing. So I'd make sure that I would look for that sort of thing. And it's interesting because in the state of California, where I live, California is one of the only states where non-compete clauses in contracts are not upheld, which means I could quit Cisco today, big networking company. I can go across the street and work at Juniper, one of their competitors, and then I can come back the next day to Cisco. Now, other states in America, almost every other state, enforces those non-competes. And that's why, if you go to Washington State, where Amazon and Microsoft are, you question yourself, why aren't there more entrepreneurs that come out of Amazon and Microsoft to start their own companies? Because of non-compete clauses there. Yeah. So a little off topic, but interesting nonetheless. Get a lawyer to read it first, please. Yeah. All right. And by the way, if anybody out there is thinking of joining a startup and you can either get cash or stock options, try to get more cash. Okay, a lot more cash. Don't say I don't want any options because they'll think you're not loyal and you're not a believer in the model. But say you want more cash. Because in the very unlikely event that the company goes public, you're going to get more shares anyway. Okay. All right, next up, Manas wrote, China has the largest number of gamers, and also most online gaming teams belong to China or Southeast Asia, like Japan and Korea. Yeah, South Korea is I remember the first time I went to Seoul in South Korea, the internet access was incredibly fast. The government did a great job adopting high-speed internet. And that's one of the reasons why I think it was NCSoft I met with there. They've done incredibly well in the gaming market. And you'll notice that a lot of stocks, video game stocks like Activision, ticker ATVI, Take-Two, ticker TTWO, and EA, ticker EA, went down a bunch over the past week. It's because China made that announcement about, hey, no more video games during the week for anybody under 18. Yeah, which is criminal. Yeah. All right, next up, White Storm wrote here, hey, Chris, my GPA is 2.4. I couldn't do well in college due to personal reasons, but it's my dream to study at Wharton. Can I make it all up for that with a good GMAT score and an impressive work experience? Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't think a shitty GPA is going to destroy your life. It's not. I have a lot of friends that got into great schools with crappy GPAs. I've helped people get into Harvard Business School with GPAs just under 3.0. My interns that have worked for me over the years. So the way you do it is as follows, and I'll make this generic enough to apply to everybody. Let's say you want to go to a university and your grades aren't that great. In the personal statement essay, you talk about why. Okay. Also, for the GMAT or the SAT or LSAT or MCAT, whatever it is people are taking, for the GMAT, understand it's not an intelligence test. It's how well you write the test. And that's why I did well on it, because it's not an intelligence test. And I can teach you, I'll teach you quickly now, everybody, how to get at least 50% on multiple choice quizzes without reading the question. Here's how you do it. When you write multiple choice exams, if you got to think like a lawyer, God forbid, but you have to when you're writing exams. You got to think like a lawyer and think for exceptions. For example, if one of the questions is this, the color of this red brick is always red. Well, maybe if I look really closely, it's a different shade of orange. So that's an exception. Or the color of this bottle is never green. Well, maybe if I hold it up to the light in a certain way, an amber light with a high Kelvin color grading, it may look a little bit green. So the bottom line is this. Think about Venn diagrams and eliminate the words always and never, because lawyers can contest this. And I promise you, when you take these multiple choice lessons, you'll do well. Another thing I recommend for the GMAT is take Princeton Review. Okay, the course, it works. And don't listen to any other methodology. It works. It works. The last thing I want to say to you is two more things. Number one, take some courses at night at community colleges or whatever, and get good grades on those business courses, and throw that in your application as well. One more thing. There's a book I want you to read, and anybody that wants to get into university. You got to think like the admissions director. And there's a great book. It's by Carpenter and Carpenter, husband and wife team. Buy this book, please. And it's called How to Market Yourself to the Top Business Schools. Order this book. I promise you it works. I bought it years ago. Market Top Business Schools. All right, now I'm going to go to my orders and search for it. This is where privacy advocates think I'm nutty, but I don't care. I want to help. Carpenter. Buy this book. I promise you it works. Yay, it works. Okay. I bought this, that's right, for Lei, one of my people on my team. She got into Harvard Business School, Lei Chen. So here it is here. Buy this book. Buy the used version if you can't get it. And what you do is this will teach you how to differentiate yourself in your essays so you stand out, because admissions directors look to diversify the student body. So you'll talk about your diverse work experience or life experiences, etc. Yeah. Okay, and best of luck. And I have a course on that as well if you want to on Udemy, just getting into business schools. Yeah. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, do you know if it's illegal to say North Korea in North Korea? As North Korea, or else the dictator will get angry. You need to say, I'm in Korea and not North Korea. That's a little bit ridiculous. Yeah. I despise communism. I despise anything in life that stops my students or anybody in general from reaching their full potential. Yeah. All right. And White Storm wrote, I'm planning to totally commit myself and work very, very hard for the next 5 years, making a good resume and studying hard for the GMAT. Yeah, take that course of mine, How to Get in the Top Business Schools. It's a half-hour course. I promise you it works. Sign up for it, take it, and then get your money back within 30 days. Okay. All right. Alperin wrote, what are your thoughts on the cryptocurrency called Cardano? You said it was a very good crypto before in your course, ? Yeah, I didn't say that, but what I did was I did an analysis on it. So I'm neutral on Cardano. It's tricky to figure out how to mine it. You have to download a special wallet, and because I didn't fully understand it, I didn't invest. Yeah, I never invest in stuff I don't completely and thoroughly understand. Yeah, and I remember I used to work at a big hedge fund called Citadel, and they used to always tell us, if you can't explain it, you don't understand it. So I don't understand. All right. Next up, Sanyam said, hey, Chris, I've been reading about coffee can investing. What are your thoughts on it? Yeah, tell me a little bit more details about it first, please. Yeah, and I drink, for those of you who are curious, bulletproof coffee every day. Yeah. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to put on my shoe here. Hurts my knees sometimes to stand all day without shoes on. Okay, good. Great. All right, moving on. Next up, Daniel wrote, what do you think of mobile mining crypto apps like Pi Network? Yeah. I'm a firm believer in joining pools, right? And so if you're part of a pool, I think it makes more sense rather than just mining yourself. And I'll show you how I mine. So if you go to my website /crypto, I think it's crypto. Yeah, here it is here. You can access my mining computer. And so what I do here is I'm doing it as part of a pool. Okay, so up here it's called Nano Pool. And you can mine tons of different cryptos using the software. And the way to do it is really simple, man. You build your cryptocurrency computer, which I explained in my cryptocurrency course. And then what you do is you download software from Nanopool and you just leave it on. And so I've got this in Dylan's room now, my son, This here is my cryptocurrency miner. I'm mining Ethereum right now. And once I get to a balance of 0.2 Ether, okay, right now it's at 0.16 Ether, but once it gets to 0.2, then what happens is Nanopool takes a 1% fee, and then they wire the money, probably be close to $900, directly to my account. Now, my account here, this here is my public key, which is my account at Coinbase. Yeah, and so the bottom line is, when you mine, I highly recommend doing it as part of a pool. Yeah. And even now, China has made mining Bitcoin kind of illegal. Even now, over 80% of all crypto mining is still done for Bitcoin when it comes to pools in mainland China. God bless VPNs. Yeah. All right. Okay, next up, Sarthik wrote, hey, Chris, I just completed your cryptocurrency course, and I learned how to invest and what cryptocurrencies to invest in. But there's one thing I lack, and that's a technique and strategies. Please help. Yeah. So Tony Robbins once said, and I met him, he invested in one of my companies years ago, nice guy. Tony Robbins once said that repetition is the mother of all skill. And so in that course, you'll see I provide you with a template to create reports based on 49 steps for analyzing cryptos. And I basically used investment banking S1 format for it. This is an IPO document. And so complete that report. And most reports I write on companies when I do my own due diligence, and most business plans I write, I never finish. Why? Because by creating them, I realize halfway through, this is not a good investment, or this is not a good business model. And so it's kind of like a safety net, so to speak, a filter process to stop you, from a Heisman, or stop you from investing in that company if you don't make the full report first. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. If it didn't, please let me know. Thanks. All right. All right. Next up, Let's Talk Beats wrote, tremendous insight. Thank you. Thank you. And I got my son Andrew for Christmas years ago. He wanted Beats by Dre. I'm not spending $300 on earphones for my kid. So I bought him, so dumb, awful dad humor. But I from the store, I got Beats, pickled beets. And on the top, I wrote Dre. It wasn't a happy Christmas morning, but I did give him a badass gift after that. I think it was a Switch or something. I can't remember. Yeah. Or Wii U back then. Yeah. Next up, V wrote, hey, Chris, how do Forex and stockbrokers make money? Yeah. So there's a couple ways. Number one is commissions, which is slowly going away because there's a lot of online competition, and competition is good for the consumer. So places, most online websites where you trade stocks, there's no more commissions. So what happens is the way that they make money now is through account balances. And so Robinhood, where you can even trade options for free, the way they make money is through their stock loan business. And I'll explain what it means. So when I worked in the hedge fund industry, I dealt a lot with Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, right? And they would house, Goldman Sachs Execution and Clearing actually housed all the, was the custodial service to house all the stocks that I traded, right? And what happened was I would borrow stocks to short, okay? And then what they would do is they would lend those to me for a fee. But what I also did was I had a lot of money invested for my clients. And whenever I had money in certain stocks, Goldman Sachs would lend those shares to other people. It's a stock loan business. And that's what Robinhood has morphed into as well. A stock loan business where they make money on renting out to hedge funds your long positions. Yeah. And if you have a massive account balance of cash, they'll collect interest, although interest rates are basically negative right now. Yeah. All right. And give me 1 second. All right. Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to have some of my breakfast now. Every Sunday, I create 7 of these things. Kale's in it and greatest hits of antioxidants. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, Senya wrote, I'm excited to attend the class on September 10th. Awesome. I'd love to have you join us. Thank you. Your classes are a gold mine, thank you, and not having its recording would hurt. The class will go live for people in India. It would be 11:30 at night. Maybe a different time for us. Yeah. Okay, sign up for it, and what I'll do is I will email you and everybody that signs up a replay link. Okay, that's totally fair. Thank you for asking. Yeah. Okay. All right. And next up, Nestor wrote, what if one has a desire to start a business, but one's wife is not very supportive because she's concerned that you will fail? Yeah, no, it's tough. Write a business plan and show it to her. Take my complete business plan course or sign up for my MBA program where I have a more in-depth venture capital boot camp. Finish the business plan. I provide you with all the tools and arrows in your quiver. Finish the business plan and then show her. Okay, and trust me, every concern you have about the business will be addressed while you write the business plan. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Dinesh wrote, I'm currently eating dosa. Oh, so good. While watching this live webcast. It's my dinner for today. Suddenly realized, LOL. Dude, I love it. People have heard me in the past talk about dosa. Now, there are many great Indian restaurants in North America, but people go to these Indian restaurants and they order the awesome tandoori chicken, tikka masala, whatever it is. But nobody orders dosa. And you haven't lived until you've eaten dosa. It's so good. And my favorite restaurant for dosa, you're going to laugh, is when I was in Delhi and Mumbai at the airports. I went to, was it Tandoori Grill, I think was the name of it. Yeah, it was a fast food place, the dosa. It's so good. Yeah, I love it. Dosa, remember that. All right, it's the best food ever. Okay. Next up, Mr. Trump wrote, you're very insightful, Chris. I think I got the greatest advice I could. Awesome, thank you. And thank you for joining us as well. Thank you. Yeah, and one of the people on my team when I worked at Goldman Sachs, he dated Ivanka Trump, and he said that I said, well, what was Donald Trump like at home and stuff, right? This is back in the early 2000s, and he said that he was pretty strict with the kids. He raised them right, actually. You know, I'm being bipartisan here. He made them, take out the garbage and everything as well, and yeah. At least I'll speak for Ivanka, because he dated her. Okay, next up, Jesus wrote, hey, Chris, thanks for your MBA. I bought a portfolio of cryptos. Awesome. I found the concept of staking. Do you have any thoughts on that? I'll try to apply the 49 steps. Yeah, when you get extraordinarily technical, the most technical I get in my courses, at least in the crypto course and my MBA program, is how to build a computer and how to download software to mine. When it comes to proof of concept and staking, I don't go into much detail about that. Yeah. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, I recommend taking courses that teach you how to make blockchains. Yeah. All right. Sarthik wrote here, hey, Chris, what advice do you have for a college student? Also, what skills should I learn as a computer science student who's also interested in investing? Thanks. Yeah. Well, in Silicon Valley, we always say it's easier for an engineer to learn finance than it is for a finance person to learn engineering. And so this applies to everybody. If you're interested in learning about finance or technology or coding, I don't care how old or young you are, you can take these courses online. And probably the best place to learn how to program for anybody, and again, it doesn't matter how old you are or young you are, the best person is Dr. Angela Yu. Okay, so Angela Yu, and I met her in Berlin a couple years ago. She's great. And we did a Zoom call recently as well. She's great. So she used to be a doctor, and now she teaches on how to program. She's amazing, and she's very well spoken. And you 50-hour courses, whatever, to learn everything you need to know about coding, that sort of thing. So I recommend everybody take her courses, and I don't get any brownie points for ever mentioning you to me because it's an algorithm. Okay. All right. And aside for that, when you're trying to find yourself, I don't care if you're young or old, don't listen to anybody when they tell you what career you should have. This is your life, man. And do something that makes you happy and chase it with all your heart. And don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail and take chances. Yeah. Do what you love doing, and as Confucius said, you'll never have a job for the rest of your life. Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, Fred, how are you, man? Fred Mendoza is one of my amazing MBA students. Great guy. He's based in Baltimore, and he's helped me with my options course as well. Yeah, he's great. I learned from my students. Good to see you, Fred. Thank you. Moving on to Sarthik, wrote, "Holy smokes, you're on Amazon. I'm an Amazon user since 1998. Was that what it said? Yeah, it's been a while. I signed up in 98, and I remember I gave my brothers and sisters little Amazon coupons for Christmas back then. Yeah. Next question is, Sarthik wrote, did you watch the movie Parasite? I won Best Picture, South Korean film. I've not yet, but I will watch it. I'll watch it soon. Thanks. It's tough for me because I do multiple things at once. And so, like when I'm washing my face in the morning, I always listen to the Wall Street Journal podcast. I listen to audiobooks when I make my shakes and everything. And it's hard for me to actually just sit there and watch television. I have to be doing a couple things at once. It's just the way I am. Yeah. And by the way, when you're getting ready in the morning, a great way to get ready for the day is to listen to podcasts. So for example, I do this every morning. Alexa, what's the Wall Street Journal news today?
From the Wall Street Journal.
Alexa, stop. Yeah. So I listen while I'm washing my face, getting ready, that sort of thing. Yeah. All right. Work smarter, not harder always. Next up, White Storm wrote, thank you so much. You're most welcome. I'll buy the book right away. It's a great book. Yeah. Also, I love your teaching method. You make it so simple to understand. I'm scared to take the GMAT and GRE because I'm horrible with numbers. No. The easiest way to understand math, okay, when it comes to business is as follows. For the rest of your life, whenever you see a fraction, I want you to think of the denominator as being the number 1. So as you look at valuation methodologies and equations like price divided by earnings, what that means, if the denominator is 1, is for every $1 in earnings, how many times that $1 are people valuing the company at? Also, it works for price to revenue, price divided by revenue. For every $1 in revenue, or sales, same thing, for every $1 in revenue, how many times that $1 are investors paying? And it works for profit margins too. Profit margin means profit divided by sales. So for every $1 in sales, how many pennies are you making in profit? And so if your profit margin is 30%, it means that profit divided by revenue is 0.3. For every $1 in revenue, how many pennies of profit are you making? Think of it that way. And never memorize equations. Always understand them and rearrange them as well, man. Assets equals liabilities plus equity. Rearrange that formula and it makes much more sense. So assets means this. It's a balance sheet. Assets on one side, liabilities and equity on the other side. So asset means for everything I have in my possession, it's either owned by me or a bank. So for example, let's say this here is a car. I have an asset of a car. Assets equals liabilities plus equity. I have this car in my possession. It's my asset. It's owned, half of it by the Bank of Toyota through my mortgage, my financing for the car, and the other half I own of it. It all has to add up. And so let's rearrange that. Assets equals liabilities plus equity. Let's rearrange it to equity. Equity now equals assets minus liabilities. Well, my ownership, my equity in this car is equal to the amount I own of it, my equity, minus how much the bank owns, the liability. So always try to rearrange equations and understand them. And always question why with everything. And I promise you, it makes the whole learning experience so much more fun. Yeah. All right. All right. Okay, and White Storm wrote, I hope you make a course on how to crack competitive exams. It'll be very useful for all of us who are stuck. Yeah, and dude, I was not the best test taker when I was a kid. In fact, they thought I had a learning disability. When I was in the 6th grade and the 8th grade, they wanted to fail me. And they sent me to this learning disability center in Oakville, Ontario, on Lakeshore Road, and called Chisholm. And what happened? And I hate my teachers for destroying my confidence. My dad was the best though. My dad realized back in the 80s I did not have a learning disability. I just wasn't passionate about what I was doing, and so he bought this for the family, and this changed my life because I love using technology. It's just fun for me. I love to create using tech. I love the Toronto Blue Jays too. Yeah. Okay. When it comes to exams in general, just my advice is always study first thing in the morning because that's when your brain is fresh. And in the afternoon, you're not fresh. And this is why. Like, I really believe that if you treat your heart properly, then what happens is your brain can absorb a lot more information. And that's why underneath my desk here, I have a treadmill. And so when I'm not doing these webcasts here, when I'm not live with you, what I'm doing is I'm actually walking all day long, okay? And this treadmill, it's $500, right, which is the cheapest treadmill you can buy. It's the best investment you can make, though. Because when you're exercising, it goes a max of 3.7 miles per hour. When you're walking and you're reading or you're typing, it's a good beat to it, what happens is you can absorb a lot more information. It's just the way it works. And if you do this, what I'm showing you, then in the afternoons, it'll feel like you just woke up. So that's what I do. I get all my steps here. And I've taken, I think I've taken 14 or so million steps on it so far. 20,000 steps a day for 2 years. Alexa, what's 20,000 times 365 times 2?
20,000 times 365 times 2 is 14.6 million.
Yeah. It goes by quickly. And at the end of the day, you've taken 20,000 steps. You don't even realize it. That's how you focus. It gives you this incredible cerebral intensity to absorb like a vacuum all the information when you're treating this properly. It's a win-win. And it's a great way to multitask as well. All right. And what I used to do with exams is I used to actually, before I took the exam, when I started studying, I used to write what I thought the exam was going to look like. So I think like the teacher did. Yeah. And I got old exams from buddies of mine in my fraternity house that already took those courses. Just kidding. Okay. I was president of my fraternity too. I had so much fun. No regrets. I don't drink anymore, but I don't drink any less. Okay. All right. Next up, Alperin wrote, what about XLM versus XRP? Ripple. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any comments on that right now. Yeah. And the founder of Ripple lives just around the corner from me here. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Next up, give me 1 second here, guys. Sorry. All right. Next up, Jordan wrote, "Hey Chris, hope you're well. I'm always great. Thank you. Good to see you. I will be attending a virtual career fair in October. What are the most important things I should do, or how should I prepare for it?" Yeah. So before you ever have any meeting with anybody for the rest of your life, what I want you to do is I want you to go to the Twitter profile of the people you're about to meet with. And I want you to look to see who they follow. And this will help you strike up a conversation with them. So if they follow certain baseball teams, you can talk about baseball or football or whatever it is. If they follow certain actors, whatever, you can, or musicians, you might be able to talk about music with them. If they follow certain politicians, you'll know what to be careful about what you say. And don't ever follow politicians, please. Because if you disclose if you're a Republican, Democrat, conservative, progressive conservative, whatever it is, liberal, whatever, half the people aren't going to like you. I don't know what half. Yeah, so just be careful of that. Yeah. All right. And then H&M, Heathens Nation Music, said, "Thank you, Chris. You're most welcome. Thank you. I used to buy all my CDs from HMV when I was a kid, which stood for His Majesty's Voice." Yeah. Okay, and Yusuf wrote, do you have a course about value investment or growth investment? Yeah, I cover all that stuff. Check out my complete financial analyst course. Yeah. Moving on to Daniel, who said, how easy do you think it will be to create my own cryptocurrency? Are the barriers to entry complicated? No, anybody can do it, and you can do it quickly. And so what people do is, so there's this crypto we know of called Ethereum, right? It's called Ether is the name of the crypto. But the Ethereum platform, people actually launch they do ICOs, which is like an IPO, but for cryptos. ICOs, initial coin offering. They do it on the Ethereum platform, right? But when it comes to creating your own blockchain, that's over my head. I would do a search on how to build a blockchain. And that might help you to create your own crypto as well. Yeah. And the best investments in history, by the way, and that's why I own Ethereum. And I'll never sell it. And I'm mining it and have been forever. But that's why the best investments are always platforms, right? Ethereum is a platform. Almost every NFT that gets created is done on the Ethereum platform. Many ICOs are done on the Ethereum platform, right? So whenever you think about business models to create or tech companies to invest in, make sure it's a platform. Because if you own the road, then you can actually charge the cars, the users. Facebook is the quintessential social media platform, although they don't make social media content themselves. eBay is the #1 auction platform, although they don't actually sell anything on it themselves. Uber is the #1 taxi platform, although they don't own any taxis. So all that stuff I'm mentioning is I'm trying to impress upon the importance of investing and creating business models that are platforms, where you give the incentive for other people to transact on that platform or create their own content. And you're a toll keeper. Like this is the road, you're the toll keeper. And those business models are infinitely scalable. All right. Next up, White Storm wrote, I love Ivanka Trump. I don't care what they say about her father, but Ivanka Trump is really caring and nice. I agree. I've read her book, Women Who Work, and it's one of the best books I've had my hands on. Yeah. She's, at least my buddy that dated her years ago, before she met her husband, obviously, said she was very grounded. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Paul wrote, hey, Chris, book-wise, which would you recommend? The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene versus the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I heard the 48 Laws was banned in jail. Yeah, I've not read the the 48 the 48 Laws. But what I have read, and by the way, if you're doing a lot of this online presentation stuff before an interview, you could get throat 37. All right, I'm better. Yeah, The 7 Habits is a great book, and I went to school actually with Stephen Covey, son, nice guy. God bless Stephen Covey, passed away recently, but I think it's a must read for everybody. The 7 Habits. Yeah, the other one I've never heard of. Sorry. All right, Let's Talk Beats wrote, much love to dads who fight hard for their son's education. Amen. I completely agree. Yeah. And White Storm wrote, thank you so much. This has also motivated me to use the treadmill. It works, dude. It is amazing. It's incredible. And I'll show you the treadmill I bought, okay? And they're probably out of stock like everything else in this world these days, given supply constraints. Let me go over here. Hey, Angela. All right, I'll go here to Amazon. I'll go to my orders. Whoops, over here, I think, right? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I had it. Okay, and I'll show you treadmill. All right. Yeah, here it is here. Yeah, I bought 2 of them. And I actually bought one for my neighbor. I gave him to him the other day, and he's getting tons of steps in. He's inspiring. So this is it here. Yeah. So all it is just this treadmill here. And what you do is you can throw it under the don't against the wall, but throw it under the couch, right? So it fits under the couch as well. It's got wheels on the side of it. Yeah. So down here, you see that under the couch, the very bottom there. Yeah. Yeah, and it's cheaper than other ones because there's no rails in the side, right? And it's actually not that heavy. It works really, really well. Now, there's something else I want to show you. If you already have a exercise bike at home or something, or you go to the gym, you can buy this product here. It's called Surf Shelf Treadmill Desk. I've got a big treadmill or elliptical trainer in my garage in my gym. But you can attach this as well if you and watch Toy Story. If you go to the gym, that sort of thing. Yeah. All right. It works though, man. If you treat this this works gooder, right? Peyton, how are you? Peyton is one of my amazing MBA program students. He's in the Navy. He lives in San Diego, although he and his wife, Hannah, are moving to Oklahoma soon. He's a good dude. Good dude. And he's got a great YouTube channel. So everybody copy and paste his name, Peyton here, into YouTube and follow him. He's going to be a giant. I'm going to say I knew him when. And he's already increased the number of subscribers he's had. He just started by like 50% overnight. He's great. Follow Peyton, everybody. Good to see you, Peyton. All right, Sarthik wrote here, hey, Chris, what life advice have you got for me today? Yeah. I guess the best thing is this. And I was watching TikTok the other day, and I saw this guy who did this TikTok vlog. And he said this. He said, if I had a check for $1 million and I gave it, would you take it? And he was talking in front of a big audience. Everyone said, of course I would. And then he said, if I gave you this check for $1 million, you can have it, but you won't be alive tomorrow. Like you can't live tomorrow. Would you take it? And nobody put their hand up. And then he said this. It was interesting. He said, you've all told me that every day is worth at least $1 million to you. And so live each day to its fullest. I thought it was kind of interesting. It's kind of different analogy. But I think the best way to live your life to its fullest is to stay very busy and to do what you're passionate about. And if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. And we all know that when you're on vacation, for example, or at home for too long, you can't even find time to go to the gym for some reason. And so the best advice I can give you is to do micro goal planning by creating a schedule for every day. And I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, but you can go to my website and then just do a search, or at the end of the URL, type in all lowercase, schedule. I don't know why there's an H in schedule. And then you click here to download a daily scheduling PowerPoint file. And this is a bit dated, but tons of my students all over the world use this. And it helps them out tremendously. And change this around so it works well for you. And it's in PowerPoint. It works in LibreOffice, Keynote, etc., Google Slides. But you schedule every single day, the day before, night before, okay? Don't do it on weekends. You'll drive yourself crazy. And then what you do is at the end of the day, you schedule the next day, right? And you score yourself. And down here, you take off 10% for every violation you had, or not violation. Like if I didn't go to the gym, take off 10%. If I didn't, spend time with the family, take off 10%. And try to get as high a percent as you can. And I even added other criteria, and this is just personal for me. Did I put God first, and then customers first? Did I not surf the internet too much, and all that stuff? But I promise you, if you, and write down your goals as well, and deadline dates, and I promise you the probability of them coming true goes up materially. Yeah. Live each day to its fullest. Okay. All right, next up, Raj wrote, hey, Chris, this T-shirt looks great on you. Maybe I'll try it again, a little bit different, Trying to mix it up here. And then you wrote, my question is, how many books do you read each year? What are some life-changing books you've read? I do Audible, so probably a couple per month. And I listen to a couple at the same times every now and then when I'm in a certain mood. And so I love to listen to biographies, business biographies and political biographies, right? And so I listen to Barack. I didn't vote for Barack, but I respect him a lot. I listened to Barack Obama's book recently, which was awesome. I learned a lot about his life. I learned about the fact that he was self-deprecating. He mentioned he was a failure at 38 years old. He said, I was a failed politician, marriage was about to fall apart, but I turned it around. And that inspired me, that it doesn't matter how old you are, you can always reinvent yourself. So right now I'm listening to one of Gary Vaynerchuk's books, again, called Crushing It. Alexa, play my audiobook.
Getting your selection from Audible. Resuming Crush It.
You can see why my dad is my hero. My gratitude for what he did drives my own
Alexa,
ambition.
stop. My dad is my hero. I love that guy. I agree with him. I agree with him. And he's at first people are rubbed the wrong way by him, Gary Vaynerchuk, but you learn to love him because he's so transparent. He's so transparent. Yeah. So, but I listen to a lot of biographies and autobiographies because I love to learn from successful people on why they became successful. And so for all of you and all of us, whoever your heroes are in business, listen to their audiobooks, especially if they read them themselves, if they have it, because they're giving you their blueprint for success. Okay. And Nestor wrote, thanks for the advice. Chris, you're most welcome. Alain, how are you? Alain is Kerr Ledoux. He was one of my students when I used to teach during the evenings at several Bay Area universities. He was at HALT. I think you're at the HALT International School of Business. Great guy. Great guy. Good to see you, bud. Thank you. All right. And then next up, I got Syed, who wrote, Chris, talk about something about marketing. Yeah, sure. So I recommend rewinding this, going back to the very first segment where I talked about Elon Musk and marketing and how he's marketing this very controversial robot, human robot, that's coming out for prototype purposes next year. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Hui wrote, hey, Chris, how do you define supply chain management? Yeah. So whenever I think of SCM, I think of software companies like i2, for example, or I think of Oracle or SAP. So Oracle and SAP, SAP, of course, a great German company. Oracle is based here in Redwood City, around the corner from me. They make Microsoft Office for the organization. Let me explain that. So Microsoft Office, we know, is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access, and a bunch of other apps. What SAP does and Oracle does is they make something like that, but it's called an enterprise resource planning suite of products. Meaning instead of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, they have apps that run the whole company. And they sell those apps individually, and of course it's powered by Oracle's database if you buy from Oracle. So one of those apps is sales, right? Like CRM, which is what Salesforce is, but for the cloud. Another one is HR, human resources. Okay. Another one is procurement, and another one is financials, and another one is supply chain management. And I mentioned all of those before I mentioned that because supply chain management ties together a lot of stuff from the other apps and the data sources, the database below it. So that you can manage your inventory, you can manage how many products you have to buy or inputs you have to buy for each output, and it integrates nicely with the finance module as well. So you can understand how much stuff to make so that you can sell it each quarter, that sort of thing. It just helps to optimize it for you. And that's the best way for me to explain what SCM or supply chain management is. It's usually in the confines of an ERP or enterprise resource planning suite made by companies like Oracle or SAP. Yeah. All right, next up, pardon me, Tado wrote, in technology, I heard about tech governance. Interesting thinking about this theme. All the companies dependent of size need to have a good governance, especially in IT. Yeah, and a lot of big companies, they're starting to hire, chief people officers or CPOs that ensures that the corporate culture is great and that diversity is included, which is a beautiful thing. And what other companies are doing is they have environmental C-level executives that will ensure that all their products are environmentally friendly and all that stuff. And I think a new role that's going to be coming out soon is chief privacy expert or whatever it is. So that big companies like Google as well as Facebook, etc., they adhere to privacy laws, right? And make sure that all of our data is private. It's coming. New positions get created all the time. Like the role of the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, didn't exist before the internet, back in the 90s. Yeah. So, yeah, governance is important. Yeah. And a great way to ensure corporate governance is to make sure that the chairperson and the CEO are not the same person. It's good from a checks and balances perspective. It's kind of like the Senate, which is a sober second look for government. All right, Eric. Oh, Eric, how are you, man? Eric graduated from my MBA program last year. Great guy. He was my first student in my MBA program during the program to write a book. His book is called Ego Trip. It's great. Buy it on Amazon. You'll love it. He published it in early January of 2020. Eric is based in the Netherlands. He used to work for Apple for a while, and he worked at Bristol Myers as well. Great guy. Very well spoken. And so Eric wrote, "Hello, Chris and class. Great to see you in the New York Times." Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Thanks. I was interviewed. It was last week by the New York Times, and it was important for me because, like, we're always seeking approval. Like, I know I say don't care what other people think, but I love my mom and dad so much, and my dad reads the New York Times every day, and so one of my bucket list goals was for my dad to be reading the New York Times one day, and he's reading. He's like, "Oh, Jackie, come, oh, Habibi, Chris, he's in the New York Times. I still hate him, but he's in the New York Times." I'm just kidding about being in the New York Times. No. But yeah, it was nice. Yeah. Thank you. And that was an Egyptian accent. I didn't know my dad had an accent until I left home at like 18 or whatever it was. Yeah. Yeah. And Canadians, we don't have accents. Okay. Americans out there, it's not out, it's oot and a boot. Yeah. I love my parents. Great to see you, Eric, and thank you. All right. Next up, Alain, who used to be Alan, used to be one of my students, in-person students at the Halt International School of Business, where I taught during the evenings in San Francisco. Wrote, "Do you own NFTs? Could NFTs become an emerging channel at the crossroad between revenue generation and customer engagement for companies, or do you think it's a fad?" No, I think it's a real thing. I think it's a big deal. Yeah, and so. The best way to explain NFTs is if you collect baseball cards, if you collect baseball cards, or you collect, and this is a prop I used earlier today, comic books. Well, the best baseball cards and comic books go up in value if there's a limited supply. And the younger generation has grown up digital. They didn't buy, like my kids, they don't buy baseball cards anymore. They actually collect them online. They have for years, especially NBA cards. And the same thing with comic books. People read these things online now. Those are my lights there. That's how I use honey filter things to cut the light across so it doesn't go in the back too much shadows-wise. Sorry, going off topic. But the younger generation, they don't buy comics. They read digital versions of them. And so this younger generation has grown up with fewer toys than I had when I was a kid. But they own digital rights to stuff in the cloud. And so the fact that they might want to own, and they'd love to own, Pokemon cards in the cloud makes a lot of sense to me. I believe in the NFT market. I really, really do. And if you're curious about the Topps Corporation and what happened with Topps, right? They're the biggest sports card company in the world, and why Major League Baseball, shocking, decided to not sign a contract with them to renew baseball card exclusivity. Just do a search on my website, harounventures.com, and the word Topps, and I talk more about that. Or what you can do is, if you want a primer on NFTs or anything I've ever talked about, just go directly to make sure that's working. Good, yeah. Go to my website, harounventures.com, and just do a search on NFTs. People have asked about it many times before, and you can see it here. And while you're here, if you're curious about anything business-wise, I've done 10,000 of these things over the years, all these video question answers here. Or if you're in my MBA program, you can click here to jump to exactly where in the program we talk about that topic. Yeah. And I outsourced that. I built that engine myself, not the engine, but from a company called 360 Search. And it's, I think it's like $100 a month for it. Yeah. Automation, I love it. Okay. I'm a believer in NFTs, that's for sure. Okay. And if you're not a believer in NFTs, it's like saying, in the future, do you think people are going to go and buy more paper-based baseball cards or digital? It's digital. And it's like prints. where there's kind of a limit of the number that are created. And so it's all about supply. And the lower the supply of the NFTs, the more they're worth. Yeah. All right. Next up, Hui wrote, would you consider adding supply chain management course to Udemy or to your MBA curriculum? If there's enough demand for it, I'll absolutely add it to my MBA degree program. So my program, I'm humble to say, is always going to be up to date. If new technologies are created that are important social media wise, I'll add that to the program as well. I'm adding at least 30 hours of brand new content every single year to my MBA program. And if you've already signed up for it, you'll get an email eventually saying, hey, here's new content added you can take for free. These are the electives. And I'm adding the options, a lot of stuff on investing in options and advanced finance later this year for class number 89 if you're registered. And early next year, I'll be adding real estate, and I'll be adding much, much more. Now, before I get to supply chain management, there's been a lot of demand for negotiations and arbitration content. So I'll add that first. But if there's a lot of demand for supply chain management and other topics, yeah, I'll add it. Absolutely. Yeah. And the best way to learn something is to teach it. All right, next up, we got Dinesh, who's in my MBA program. Dinesh wrote, Chris, what do you think about the crazy valuation startups are getting these days? Clubhouse is valued at 100 million. That's not that high. I bet you it's higher than that. By A16Z. A16Z is Andreessen Horowitz, venture capital firm, because in between A and Z, Andreessen Horowitz are 16 letters. And I met with both Ben Horowitz and Mark Andreessen. Mark and I were on the same board of the company together. Do you think that they're overvalued? Yeah, I do think valuations are stretched. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons why valuations are egregious or very high right now is because interest rates are low. And so governments are basically telling you, don't keep money in the bank because rates are basically zero. So it causes people to take a lot of risks and invest in a lot of startups, which is good for the economy, especially given COVID. Now, the antithesis or opposite of this was back in the early 1980s when inflation was insanely high, way worse than today. And Paul Volcker, God bless him, Paul Volcker was the head of the Federal Reserve in America then. And he raised interest rates to 20% back in the early 80s. And so what happened was everybody kept their money in the banks because, hey, man, I'm making 20% for free. And nobody invested in startups. And the stock market did terrible. So when rates are high, not many startups get created. Rates are low now. Lots of startups get created. And as a result, for rates being low way, way longer than usual, valuations are stretched. Another thing that's leading to nosebleed valuations is a lot of mutual fund companies and hedge funds, like Fidelity, mutual fund company. They realize that, oh my God, they're underperforming. They can't make a lot of money, with their mutual funds. And the way that a lot of these mutual funds and hedge funds make a fortune is during IPOs. And the way it works is a firm like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley will take a company public, like Facebook, for example, in 2012. And their best clients, Fidelity, et cetera, hedge funds, they get a massive allocation. And IPOs usually trade at a 30% discount because you got to incentivize people to buy them. And then these mutual funds and hedge funds make a fortune that day. And ironically, the Facebook IPO was a disaster at the time. Another topic. But because a lot of IPOs, a lot of private companies are staying private much, much longer, it's hurting mutual funds and hedge funds. And so wealth generation is transitioning from the public markets to the private markets. And so usually in the past, if a company had a market capitalization or a private company was worth close to $1 billion, they did an IPO at $1 billion. Well, now companies are waiting until their valuations are 10 or 50 or 100 billion before going public. And it's great for venture capitalists, but it's bad for mutual funds and and hedge funds because that means the stocks for IPOs won't go up as much in the long run. As a result, firms like Fidelity, mutual funds, have moved into investing in private companies, right? And 40% of all later stage pre-IPO private investments are not done by venture capital firms anymore. They're done by the big mutual funds like Fidelity, who invested a lot of money in Reddit recently to give Reddit a $10 billion valuation. So wealth generation, the bottom line, is transitioning from the public markets to the private markets, which is leading to nosebleed level of valuations for private companies, which is certainly not sustainable. I'm not a buyer of any private companies now. In fact, I sold every single one, almost every single one of my private venture capital investments. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Arif wrote, "Hey Chris, I've been your subscriber for a long time. Thank you. And this is the first time I got a chance to be online. Thank you, Arif. I appreciate it. Thank you. Arif Kasim. I'll remember your name. Thank you. It is really interesting. Would you? What would be your advice about taking up your MBA course?" Yeah. No. Thank you. So, what I advise. So, with my MBA degree program, which you can learn more about at harounventures.com, I advise just understanding that you could take it in a short amount of time or a long amount of time. If you're at home doing nothing for a month or two, you can binge watch all 300 plus hours at home if you want to. If you don't really have that much time, you can take it over a year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever you want. You can take your time. And the way I set it up is that all you have to do is get over 50% on half the quizzes. Now, there's 100 classes in the program, and the average length of a class is 3 hours. So after each 100 classes, there is a short quiz based on what I talked about in that class. And all you have to do is get over 50% on at least half the quizzes to get the degree. And I set it up that way because I think of myself as a waiter. I want to expose you to all business topics, but I only want you to pick the ones and watch the lessons that are of interest to you, which is why you don't have to watch the whole thing, right? It's choose your own adventure, so to speak. Yeah. And as I add new content over the years, I'll email everybody and let you know. And then at the end of the program, you get one of these, and I explain exactly how to get it and everything in the very, very last lecture. So yeah. Not accredited, will never be, because I believe that big universities are part of the problem, not part of the solution. And I don't want any government body to tell me what I can and can't teach. I have a lot of students from top MBA programs that have signed up for the program, my MBA program. And they tell me in the first month, humbly, they learn more than they did from their entire $100,000 waste of money MBA. Yeah. Okay. And there's a money back guarantee I mentioned before you. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. And I have to wrap it up in a couple of minutes because I've got MBA student office hours, which I do every week after the general call. All right. Give me 1 second here. All right. And Zoralina said, by the way, I love that blue font in your fashion statement today. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a little bit different, eh? It's like Steve Jobs, except he had the black turtlenecks. Yeah. Maybe I'll do this from now on. What do you guys think? Should I go back to wearing my blazers that I wore, like the sports jacket with my button down? Or should I wear this or t-shirts? Let me know what you think. Thanks. Okay. And oh my God, Peyton wrote, you look like Steve Jobs with that shirt. Dude, maybe I subconsciously read that. I don't know if I did. It's pretty funny. Great minds think alike, or at least you do. Thank you. You're the great mind. Okay. And then Eric said, remember getting my job at Valamis started with a LinkedIn message. Very cool. Yeah, and that's the way to go, man. Networking using LinkedIn, because every email that everybody in this call has ever received over LinkedIn you've read, but certainly not every email. And so LinkedIn is the best way to network still. Yeah. Although Microsoft's done nothing with that asset since they bought it. All right. And then Paul wrote, hey Chris, what do you think will be the impact of artificial intelligence, automation, and robotics for the job market, good or bad? I say it's good. So robotics. So Elon Musk, when he created this robot, which he calls Optimus, which is a nice play on Optimus Prime, who is the good robot that transformed from a Cybertruck sort of into a robot. But the genesis of Optimus is so that it will do repetitive tasks for you, and the fastest it will be able to walk is 5 miles an hour. but it's made for humans to help humans with repetitive tasks so that we can do other things. And yes, there's going to be a lot of people pissed off that will say, wait a second, I don't want robots to take my job. And people said the same thing about the production line with Japanese auto companies back in the 1980s. You watch that movie Gung Ho with Michael Keaton. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that repetitive tasks are done by technology because it allows us to focus on other things that are more value added. And it's like years ago, people said, I don't think it's smart to create bank machines because you're taking away jobs from bank employees. No, it's more efficient for everybody. And the more efficient we are, the more productive we are, the better the economy does and the better, humanity advances. So I'm really bullish about robotics and AI as well. Something as simplistic as an artificial intelligence-based engine that analyzes my financial statements and says, hey, Chris, pay off your American Express bill before you pay back that other loan because your Amex has a higher interest rate. That's what Quicken does, okay, and QuickBooks as well. So I'm bullish on AI. But I do think we have to keep it in check. And if you want to read a cover story in Wire magazine that will terrify you, go back to the summer 2000, when Bill Joy, who was the co-founder of Sun Microsystems, Bill Joy wrote a groundbreaking cover story on what happens if robots get too powerful, like the Terminator, right? And so, and Elon Musk has tweeted a lot about this in the past. He's worried about technology taking over the world. And it's ironic that he made this robot. And I think he made the robot because one of the reasons is he wants to front run, Boston Robotics and a bunch of other companies from creating robots that get too much power, and he wants to create good ones first. I know it sounds a little bit elusive. And if you want to learn more about Elon's robotic strategy, just rewind to the beginning of this webcast. It's the first story I talked about. Yeah. All right. Okay, and I got to wrap this up in a second. And if there are additional questions that I don't answer, just please copy them and paste them because I'll do this call every week forever. Okay. All right, next up. Oh my God, Eileen, how are you? Eileen Dale Gracias. She has the most wonderful last name. She's my platinum student in my MBA program. She graduated last year. Eileen's last name is Dale Gracias, which is Spanish for thank God. It's the coolest name ever. It's dope. And I met Eileen actually when I was in Atlanta a month or two ago. We met up right by CNN's headquarters and grabbed a coffee. It was great to meet you. Yeah. We got coffee, and then when the bill came for the coffee, I went like this. I have alligator hands. I can't find my wallet. Remember that? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was good to see you. Good to see you. Hi to you as well. God bless you. All right. And then Eric wrote, thanks to your advice about getting that job using LinkedIn. So it works, man. It works. Yeah. Relationships are more important than product knowledge. All right. So Hui wrote here, great to see Eric as well. And Eileen, lots of love. Hui wrote, could you please share some tips on how you get your teaching job at a university? For example, did you talk to the chair department, dean for the opportunity, etc.? Yeah. I'll give you a couple tips on how to do it. But first of all, what happened was there was this guy. His name is Vas. He's from Russia originally, and he was at San Francisco State University. And I worked at a venture capital firm, and he was just calling up venture capital firms to see if you can get somebody to guest lecture or be on a board on a panel. And so I took the call, and I love helping people, and so I did it. And while I was up there on that panel, and by the way, if you're ever on a panel, you can always ask, hey, what questions are you going to be asking me? It's just the way it works. That's a secret. Yeah. But when I was on the panel, there's a guy named Herb Mayberger, who's my Yoda, and he's a professor at San Francisco State. And he said, why don't you come over and meet the dean with me and all that stuff at a bunch of universities. And I guest lectured a bunch. And then the dean of one of the big universities, Halt International School of Business, said, oh my God, I love watching you. That's my Guardians of the Galaxy ringtone telling me to wrap up this call because I got to move on in a second. But let me answer this question. It's important. So I guest lecture at Halt, and the dean of the university saw it, and he said, can you teach a class? And I was like, I don't know how to teach. And he said, just do what you just did. And then he said, I'll let you teach anything you want about anything you want. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. And that was in the summer of, I think it was 2013 or so. And so I started doing that for a couple of years. It's kind of, that's what I did. Yeah. And in terms of guest lecturing a ton at Stanford, here's how I got it. Okay. So I called the head of administration at Stanford Business School over and over and over again. And finally, I got her live. And I said, I want a guest lecture at Stanford. And she said to me, okay, well, just here's what you do. Email all of the professors, I guess, at Stanford, and just tell them we talked and see if you can guest lecture. And so I emailed every single one, the top 30 of them. And I got a response from almost every single one. I even emailed Myron Scholes, he's a guy that created Black Scholes, and I got a response. And then eventually this guy named Ilya, great guy, he teaches venture capital at Stanford, had me come in and teach a lot, as well as be on tons of panels and do one-on-ones with a lot of Stanford MBA students to help them with their business plans and all that stuff. Yeah. But really it's being proactive and asking over and over again, helps you in all aspects of life, and giving, helping others. Giving, you'll receive. It's prophetic, has been true since the beginning of time. So that's the genesis of that. And then Alain wrote, thank you, Chris, you're most welcome. Cool. So I'm so sorry. I know there's a lot more questions. Please save them and ask me next week as well. Copy and paste them next week. And please join us, everybody, to I'm doing that event. I'm just, what it's like to learn from being in my MBA program. So go here to my website, harounventures.com. Click here, Friday, September 10th at 11 a.m. and reserve your spot here because I'm going to teach you a lot of stuff. It's a free class. You guys will love it. Please sign up now if you get a chance. I will see you all every single day at 9 a.m. because that is when my vlogs drop on YouTube. So please like and subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay happy. And I'll see you next Thursday and every Thursday forever at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you. And as I always do, I always end my weekly with a video I licensed from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. Thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.